Okay, I really want to get to Rachel Oates' video. Now, as we know, Gabby Hanna recently posted a video where she apologized loosely to everyone. She did this video where it was like an apology video, but like it was a one of a kind. It was an apology video to me, to you, to everyone. And it was the most vague apology ever, if I'm going to be honest. And it stemmed from the fact that Gabby had been getting called out because she had went to Oxford, believe it or not. We made a video on it. It was quite a crazy video, if I'm being honest. She went to Oxford and she did a little panel, I guess. And in it, she made multiple jabs at Rachel Oates, who is a creator on this platform that got a copy of Gabby's poetry book, made a review of it, and we'll leave it at that. Made a review of it. And Gabby Hanna needed to know and learned very quickly that art is subjective and it can be open to criticism and open to critique. And she didn't accept well of this when Rachel Oates made her video, you know, deep diving into the poetry. And ultimately, years later at Oxford, like, it's one thing to hold a grudge. It's one thing to hold a grudge. But it's another thing to hold a grudge and bring it up at Oxford. Do you know how long you have to be keeping a hold of that grudge for? Oxford? At Oxford? Let me tell you something. I have many ops in my day-to-day life. Would I be mentioning that and making like little jabs at them at Oxford? Oh, that is not the time for that. That is not the time for that. And I saw that Rachel has made this follow-up video. Gabby Hanna's apology is not enough. Now, it's long. I'm going to watch it on 1.5 speed. I really like Rachel. I'm going to watch on 1.5 speed. I'm going to watch it with captions. We're going to lock in. We're going to watch this. We're going to get through it. We're going to hear everything Rachel has to say. I'm really excited to hear Rachel talk about this because Gabby made a lot of jobs at Rachel at Oxford. Now, that is a first. I do need to write that one down. For all my ops, I need to wait until the perfect moment to call them out. The perfect moment in question, Oxford. Let's get to this.
Hey everyone, you're about to watch a video that I don't think I properly introduced or concluded properly. I'm saying properly a lot, because I was just very emotional when I filmed it, and I just wanted to kind of speak and get everything out at once. But I do feel like it needs a proper introduction. So, as you all probably know, there's been a kind of back and forth between me and Gabby Hanna since about 2019-ish, if you want to call it that. And yesterday she released this video that's like a long overdue apology, in which she gives a bunch of vague non-apologies to a bunch of random people. And in it, there's one throwaway line which could...
Yeah, everyone's saying, how dare the book reviewer review a book? That's literally all it was. If you need the context, Rachel Oates reviewed the damn book. The damn book. And Gabby didn't like that Rachel wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever read. Have you read that poetry? She's lucky I didn't do a goddamn review, even though I think I might have.
Potentially, maybe, if you squint a little bit, look like it could be aimed towards me. And that is something along the lines of, if you think we have beef, we don't. We're fine. And then she thumbs up.
Love Rachel's hair. I love this color. Very beautiful.
Thumbs up to the camera. I can't speak. It's been a long day. And then that's it. She just kind of moves on. And then the rest of it is just like, I'm sorry to anyone I've worked with. Ha 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 ha. I'm sorry to my family. Ha 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 ha. And a lot of it is just these really vague, insincere apologies, followed by a lot of obnoxious laughing, which just makes the whole thing seem like she's not taking it seriously and she doesn't actually care. And it really, really bothered me because so many people are falling for this nonsense and thinking that it's sincere or that it means something. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, but we don't know. Maybe she's reached out to the individual people behind it.
Everyone's saying that Gabby literally sent the book to be reviewed.
And apologized to them. And I can say for a fact she has not. She's not apologized to me. I haven't got it. I haven't heard anyone else who's had an apology from her personally. It's just not happening. And it's really bothering me because this comes off the back of her, again, after years, bringing me up in videos and calling me...
Sorry, I'm focusing on what Rachel's saying here, but wow. I love the decoration of this apartment. I will always lock into seeing how people decorate. I love the flowers over here. Love the wall decor. Sorry, just locking in for a little moment.
And being nasty and just being a very, very cruel person. And this video bothered me because so many people are falling for this and saying, she's changed, she's grown, and she's not. She is absolutely not. She is still just as cruel as before, and she can't just decide that what's between us is over, it's done because I've decided it, without actually bothering to take accountability for the things she said to me and how she treated me and how much she hurt me. Like, I can't be expected to just move on from this like nothing happened just because Gabby's decided it's time the internet forgives her when she hasn't actually done anything to make amends or make things better. While I'm still getting death threats from her fans, I'm still getting hateful messages from her fans, and I'm still getting people spreading absolute lies about me online. I haven't received a proper apology. She hasn't proved to me that she's changed or grown.
Thank you, Lissy.
I don't think we're okay. I'm not okay with her, and I'm very, very upset with her. And that's why in this video, I just want to take some time, apparently nearly 3 hours, to just...
And also, this is completely valid. And I'm saying this at the start because I think a lot of people have a tendency to say to people in general, you know, get over it, or it was so long ago, and people don't know how things, you know, affect people. And also, even if... I don't think you have to put yourself in someone's position. Someone's perception of something, or someone still feeling annoyed or wanting to vent or wanting to talk or wanting an apology is on them, and it's not any of us to decide. And so that's why I urge everyone to go into this with an open mind and just hearing Rachel out rather than anything else. And I know most people are.
Go through for a moment every single thing that happened and why, and how I, at this point, don't feel okay just moving on without a real apology. Why I'm not forgiving her, and I don't believe...
Can I say something before we dive in further? I went into my kitchen in the in-between stage of filming this video and the last one, right? I had my I had my suitcase in there that was closed, right? It was closed. Tell me why I go in and my suitcase is now fully opened, which is crazy because I heard a bang in my kitchen a second ago. And my dog Bonnie is lying down on my opened suitcase of clothes. So within the time that I was on live stream, my clever ass dogs managed to open my suitcase, kick it open, and perfectly managed to not spill any clothes because they're so clever, obviously, my very intelligent little girls. And I go in and she is just lying down on my fucking clothes. And then I go, Bonnie, get off that. What does she do? Just sits and fucking stares at me. She literally just sits and stares at me. And I'm like, Bonnie, get off. What does she do? She lies down. This diva. This little diva. When I film in here, they're going crazy out there. She's playing dress up.
This absolute nonsense of a video when she's still actively being nasty about me publicly and spouting misogynistic nonsense publicly, because that's her new thing. And I have a real problem with it. And yeah, I'm just tired of staying silent on this and felt the need to say something. So here we are. Please, I was going to say enjoy the video, but please watch the video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a bit of a different video. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I feel the need to talk, and if this ever sees the light of day, so be it. If I feel like it's not helpful to anything, then I won't post it. Oh, I'm really telling you this. If you're hearing this, you'll clearly post it. Oh, my brain's not working. I have been trying so long to stay quiet on these topics, or like be very careful if I mention it. I have tried so hard to like not even say Gabby Hanna's name in videos. And now I think I'm just kind of finally done with that, because I got to the point where I'm sick of people walking all over me and me not being able to defend myself and me just having to sit back and watch other people misremember things or spread misinformation or just change the narrative entirely to just suit their own, I don't know, like agenda or whatever it is, and me just not being able to say anything because I'm scared about looking like the mean girl. I'm scared of looking like I want drama. I'm scared of looking like, I don't know how to put it. I'm scared of actually creating drama because like I don't like it. I've never wanted this to be like a back and forth thing. I've never wanted this to be like a rivalry thing, even though a lot of people seem to want to paint it that way. I've never wanted to like drag this out more than it needed to. But it just feels like it's never ending. And I feel like it's been what, like 4 years now or 5 years now? And I just kind of feel the need to like definitively say my piece on all this. Okay, so let me try and give you like a rundown on everything that happened to the best of my memory. Back in December 2019, I was coming out of having like a really, really bad mental breakdown. I was in a horrible place health-wise. I was an absolute mess. And I was trying to find my love of YouTube again and find some passion in my life again and just try and enjoy my job again. And one of the things that I was doing at the time and that I had been doing for a long time were book reviews. And a lot of these ended up being kind of like funny book reviews and stuff like that. And I would review books from Christian fundamentalists and respond to them. Sometimes they were Islamic fundamentalists, although not as often because there aren't quite as many of those books written in English, so not as many to respond to. And I would also sometimes touch on literature, I would touch on history, I'd touch on science. There was a lot of stuff I was doing. Hey, I even spoke about children's books, you know? But poetry is something that I've always loved. I've always been obsessed with. You can see I've got videos about poetry specifically written for children. I've got, in which I look back at like some of my favourite poems from childhood and stuff like that, which is great. And another one of the things I've always done on my channel is try and look for kind of topics that are trending and see if there's any kind of new take I can make on that, or like if there's any books related to it or stuff like that.
Also, Rachel Oates does not have to justify why she gave a review, negative or positive, of anything. Gabby, hanna, poetry book and all. When you put a piece of art out there, music, book, film, TV show, documentary, merchandise, anything, people can comment on it before they even purchase it or whatever. But when someone purchases that piece of art, when people, when they purchase that piece of art, it is, in a way, they're a part of it now. It's now a part of their life. And they are able to talk about how it's impacted them, how it hasn't impacted them, how it's good, how it's bad. And if you're not ready for someone to critique or praise your work, maybe you should keep that work for yourself. So, obviously, I understand why Rachel is setting the scene right now, but the fact that she still has to do this years later just goes to show how people just don't understand how things work.
Like when the whole Colleen Ballinger drama was going down, I googled her, found she had some books, and so I reviewed them, and I think I was one of the first people to do that. And it was the same in this situation. Gabby Hanna had some drama going on at the time, and I was like, and I said this in my video, I was like, I used to be a fan of Gabby, so I thought, oh, let me see what she's been doing the last few years. And I found out she'd written a poetry book and thought, oh, I'd like to read this. And then I read it and found it was really bad and thought, oh, I'd like to talk about this. And so I made a video. I have been a fan of YouTube just in general for years now, like way, way before I started making videos, obviously. And back in the day, I used to quite like watching kind of storytime YouTubers. So we're not talking like Tanner Mojo kind of storytime people, but like people who actually seem genuinely nice and relatable and lovely.
People are telling me that people are saying to give a warning for domestic violence. Apparently domestic violence is mentioned in this video. If that's something sensitive to you, please continue with caution. Okay, that's something that I am now finding out as well. Obviously, I have not watched this video yet. I was just kind of going off of if there was going to be a warning in this video, but chat are letting me know that, so I do want to give a little bit of a heads up right now that apparently that is in the video somewhere, so just want to give a warning for that and a little bit of a heads up.
So like Jessie Smiles and also Gabby Hanna. Yes, I liked her videos, don't judge me. I know, you judging me now. So I still absolutely love Jessie's videos, actually. I feel like Jessie seems like one of the most like genuine, lovely, relatable people online. I think she's amazing. Recently, Gabby Hanna, who used to go by The Gabby Show, kind of popped back up on my YouTube feed because of some pretty horrible stuff she said and did to Jessie. Now, I don't want to talk about that drama today, but I just want to say like that was kind of my like shooting off point to be like, I wonder what these guys were doing for the last couple of years while I've not been watching them. So I looked up Jessie. She's had a kid. She seems really happy. It's all very sweet. Meanwhile, Gabby, it seems, has been embroiled in all kinds of drama and has released a poetry book, which obviously, me being a huge fan of books and poetry, decided to track down and have a little read of. Oh, it didn't disappoint me. It was entertaining. Just not for the reasons I think Gabby intended. So today we are going to be having a look at this book called Adolescence, which is, like adolescence, adolescence. It's so hard to say. We are going to be looking at a few of the poems from the book and kind of picking them apart and comparing them to some other actually fairly decent.
And I have both of Gabby's books. They're somewhere in Ireland. Dustin, thank you. Gabby's prayer at the end of the video was so long. Prayer is fine, but it was a long ass prayer. I sat through it and I said amen at the end.
Amazing poetry. And I did title the video Gabby Hanna's Poetry is Bad because I felt like that was a good summary of my thoughts.
And also it does not matter. Like, I don't know why this turned into such a big thing.
And I felt like it was emotive and I felt like it would get people to click. And it did get people to click. There's a few things I did with that video back then that I would do differently now. So that was my first ever poetry video on my channel. If you've seen my poetry playlist, you'll know I've made many, many more since. But in that very first video, I was kind of testing the waters a bit to see if people would be interested in me talking about poetry, because it's a pretty niche topic. And I know some people love it, some people hate it, some people are completely indifferent, and I didn't know if people wanted to watch that stuff or not. So I was testing the videos, and I made a well, I think it was like a 34-minute video, which is short by today's standards, pretty standard for what my video lengths were back then. That poetry is completely subjective. While we can analyze it and say this is a good poem, this is a bad poem.
Is that a glass of wine? If so, diva, diva, diva. I love that. Diva, diva, diva. Is Rachel Oates in LA? I would love to reach out to Rachel Oates. Is she in LA? Does anyone know?
They're kind of only from kind of technical perspectives. What you like and don't like is completely up to you, and there's no right and wrong there at all. This video is just my opinion and my analysis based on what I do like and don't like in poetry. It is purely my opinion. So if you actually really like Gabby's poetry, or if you hate a poem that I say that I like or whatever, absolutely fine. We don't have to agree on everything. Like I say, poetry is subjective. And just because I critique a poem that you might like, that doesn't mean I'm putting down your opinion. That does not mean I'm belittling your opinion. You are completely entitled to feel however you want about this work. If it's something that speaks to you, if it's something that is really meaningful to you, then yeah.
Oh, you're all right. She is in the UK. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that accent. I'm so dumb. Sorry, she's closer to me now than what she would be in LA. I'm so stupid. Sorry, I just picked up on the accent right now.
Not looking down on that at all. You are more than entitled to that. It is a very kind of like big, chunky collection though. There's quite a lot in there.
Why did I not pick up on that accent?
I do have the potential to make a couple more videos out of this stuff. I just picked kind of the earliest parts of the book for now to kind of work through it in chronological order. Sadly, and the other thing I was doing back then was I was splitting up book reviews into several parts to make them shorter and more digestible.
I love this new hair color.
I did this one where I was reviewing a Ken Ham book. Or was it Kent Hovind? Well, I reviewed both. I was reviewing their books and going through them like basically chapter by chapter and doing these big in-depth reviews and being like, okay, well, let's fact check this and fact check this and fact check this. And so some of those video reviews had like 12 parts because I'd be like, okay, one video part per chapter. Whereas nowadays people aren't quite so afraid of the longer videos, which is why it's more likely that I'll just do like one video per book so I can kind of get it all in, even if that video ends up being like 2-3 hours long, right? So if I was remaking this Gabby Hanna poetry video now, which, sorry, I haven't even said, I was reviewing her first book, Adultolescence. There's some more date stuff there I'll talk about in a second, but if I was making these videos now, I wouldn't have split it into 3 short parts. I'd have just done it as one big, long, in-depth video. But that wasn't how I was making content at the time, so I just made content that was typical for my style at the time. Simple as that. The other thing I would change is I still think some of my analysis in those videos wasn't quite as in-depth as I go today. I think I could have maybe made some better comparisons between the poems to make a few more relevant. Like, I think the very first poems I compared was something like the Sleep is Neat one and Caroline Duffy's Little Red Cap, because I just wanted to talk about a poem that I loved. And then there was that poem, and they both had a very slight, childlike connection between them. One was like a...
I want to rebuy these damn books and go through them. Hold the phone. We are buying these damn books and going through them. I think I might have gone through them loosely before. I can't remember. And if I have gone through them, they're clearly not... Why does Amazon look so different? If I have, they're clearly very different. What is her name? Gabby Hanna. Load that book up. Gabby, you're getting another sale off me. I've already bought the book in the past. You're getting another double sale off me. Get it tomorrow. Happy fucking days. Gabby Hanna Desperate for Attention shirt. Wait, I love this shirt. Oh my god, she has merch on Amazon. And the merch is, it literally just says desperate for attention over and over and over again. I want it. Gabby Hanna cardboard cutout. We can't. Maybe check if a library has them. A library won't have these books. You know what will? A fucking rubbish bin. All right, let's add these books to my library or to my basket. Let's add a lot. That'll give me something fun to do. A little bit of reading, always good for my brain. Dandelion. Let's add that one as well. We should go through YouTuber books. We should go through YouTuber books. Okay, we'll go through that. Brilliant. Guys, everyone in chat is being like, you should just... Hey, I can't say that I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like, Guys, please be a little bit clever here. I am on a platform. I cannot say that. Please. Do you realize that I can't say that? Can you at least say, like, secondhand or something like that? Fuck me. Someone said, I don't know if that's considered reading.
Nursery rhyme, one was based on a fairy tale. Loose connection, very loose connection. If I was remaking that video, I would have started off stronger with a better connection between the two poems I was comparing. First impression of Gabby's poetry was that it's all quite shallow. It's very much what you see is what you get. There's nothing really under the surface. You know, having a very clear, simple communication style where there's nothing hidden, just being very open, can be a wonderful thing, especially in certain novels, or when you're writing non-fiction, or when you're speaking in a YouTube video, for example. But when it comes to poetry, I feel like just having this very surface level meaning kind of defeats the point of poetry altogether. Now that's just my opinion, you might disagree and that's okay, but let me explain. To me, poetry is an art so unlike any other because it's not just about communicating on one level.
I've actually never seen the original video. Like, what was so bad about it?
In itself, and to me it is one of the most complex and beautiful forms of art that there is. It's about understanding the rules of language and grammar and how we communicate and playing with them, having fun with them, sometimes in a quite frivolous way. Sometimes you break or bend those rules, sometimes you twist them and turn them on their heads, sometimes you follow those rules perfectly. In a really good, well-crafted poem, every word has been picked out for a reason and is used for a reason and placed where it is for a reason. I actually really like what Stephen Fry writes in his book, The Ode Less Travelled. He says, "Poems are not read like novels. There is much pleasure to be had in taking the same 14-line sonnet to bed with you and reading it many times over for a week. Savour, taste, enjoy. Poetry is not made to be sucked up like a child's milkshake. It is much better sipped like a precious malt whiskey. Verse is one of our last stands against the instant and the infantile. Even when it is simple and childlike, it is to be savoured." To start with, I want to look at Gabby's poem called Sleep, which is one of the first ones in the book. It also features a very basic little illustration by her, and it's just a very simple, straightforward, quite shallow poem. I like sleep. Sleep is neat. If you're having trouble, count some sheep. The structure's a little bit confused. It starts off with an A-B rhyme scheme, ends in rhyming couplets. I don't know if that was intentional. I doubt it. I think she just kind of messed up a bit. I want to compare this poem.
I like sleep. Sleep is neat. New York Times bestseller. I like sleep. Sleep is neat. What is the rest line? I like sleep. Sleep is neat. If you're having trouble, count some sheep. I like sleep. Sleep is neat. Best of all, sleep is cheap. Where I sleep, I can dream of cherry pie and something cream. When I sleep, I don't have to think. That's why I have my 8-hour blink. I only wake up to eat or pee. Otherwise, I'll sleep for eternity. We have got to get our hands. No, I had them years ago, and I made a video going through it, but I need to revisit. I forget it. Clearly, it wasn't monumental enough. We need to go through this immediately. Immediately, we need to go through these. I like sleep. Sleep is neat. I only wake up to eat or pee. Otherwise, I'd sleep for eternity.
Poem to one of my favourite poems of all time, which is called Little Red Cap by Caroline Duffy. Little Red Cap is a retelling of the original
Too long.
fairy tale, but as a metaphor for a relationship she had when she was younger with a much older man, who I think was like a kind of mentor or teacher or something like that to her. On the surface, it's a simple fairy tale. Peel back a layer, and it's a semi-autobiographical story of her life. Peel back another layer, and it's a kind of metaphor for relationships and love and power and sex, loss of innocence even. And then you peel back another layer, and it's a feminist statement about a young girl fighting back against traditional gender roles in relationships, discovering her sexuality, and coming out of it as a strong, independent woman. There's layer after layer you can peel back in this poem, and it's wonderful. The other thing worth mentioning is Gabby's book.
Rachel, why would you want that when you could have sleep is neat? I only wake up to eat or pee. Otherwise, I'd sleep for eternity.
I think came out in 2016 or 2017, Adultolescence. I didn't review it until 2019 because, as I said in that very first video, I didn't know it existed. I hadn't been following Gabby for years at that point, but when a bunch of drama came up, I googled her, found the book, read the book, had thoughts on the book. It was that simple. I didn't buy the book in 2017 and sit on it for years waiting for the moment to talk about it. I didn't know it existed before I started making the video, essentially. I also didn't have a physical copy of the book. Today, Gabby is making quite misleading statements, which make it sound to some people like I physically bought her book and physically burnt it.
like you're burning a book in 2020 that you bought in 2017. I already got your money. You know, it's just like, it's old.
Well, that's not what happened. I've never had a physical copy of her book. That first book, Adolescence, I borrowed an ebook version from a library so I could make a video on it, made the video on it, return the ebook. Nothing was ever burnt.
Not returned the ebook.
I can't believe I never clarified.
Sorry, returning an ebook is another kind of really not enjoying it. Returning an ebook? That's crazy.
But here we are. The second video, oh no, wait, no, more to say on the first one, actually. So, yeah, while it wasn't a perfect video, I pretty much still stand by everything I say in it. I think I made very valid points. I was complimentary when I needed to be, and when the text deserved.
Why were you complimentary? What was there to be complimentary about? Sleep is neat.
That's about it.
Sleep for eternity.
And take it to mean, oh, well, when you have depression, sometimes you sleep a lot, and it can be all you do and all you can cope with or something. But there's nothing really to suggest that that's the real intention of the poem. It just seems very basic, surface level. I like to sleep. And a lot of it just seems very redundant. For me, each line in a poem should move it forward, moving along. Repetition of ideas for the sake of filling space means nothing to me. And it feels like a lot of what's included in Gabby's poems is there to fill space rather than to have actual meaning and purpose. Poems don't always have to be that deep, though, and they definitely don't always have to be feminist. Can't even speak. I know the two examples I've given so far do have these strong feminist messages. That's just because that's kind of what I like in poetry from women. They don't always have to be this way. Poems can be very fun, very frivolous, very simple and happy and silly, you know? There's nothing wrong with a silly poem. I love that. They can be exciting. They can tell stories of adventures. I personally love the poetry of like Lewis Carroll and Edward Lear because they really have such...
Me, I love the poetry of Gabby, Hanna, and Trisha Paytas.
Silly and invent new words and bend and twist and break established language and grammar rules. These are the poems that make you laugh and smile and truly appreciate how wonderful language is and language can be. Recess is a poem by Gabby that I think actually has a bit of potential, or had a bit of potential before she published it, I don't know. It kind of shows her actually trying to have a little bit of fun with language, I think, and you don't see that very often in the book.
So is this a Gabby poem? Jacob and Emily sitting in a tree, Kissing. First came love, then came marriage, then came a stale and empty life. As a result of the societal pressures to wed, which led to a semi-public affair and a severe case of alcoholism. Did Gabby write this? Mixed with mental illness, followed by a grueling 2-year divorce that damaged the kid's emotion. Okay.
The collection of poems from her is very self-indulgent. She takes herself too seriously throughout it, constantly. Recess, on the other hand, is one poem where I actually feel like she was trying to have a little bit of fun with language and poetry.
Fun?
And so on.
Fun?
Children's nursery rhyme and tries to subvert it. It's a shame that it kind of...
Fun? Rachel, babe, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Fun? Fuck it, I'm releasing a poetry book. And you bitches are making it go #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. If you got this shit #1... You know what this reminds me of? That Taylor Swift song, How Did It End? Sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G. Do-do, do-do. Say it once again with feeling, how the death rattled breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving me bereft and lean and something, my beloved ghost in me, sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G, do-do, do-do. Is that an actual song? Yes! I fear we're in for a long stream because I keep going on these tangents. Say it once again with the feeling, how the death rattled breathing, silence as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost in me, sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G. Do-do, sing it. Do-do. Alice, thank you so much. I love the You're Amazing sticker. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's what I think of when I see this. Sitting in a tree. D-Y-I-N-G.
But honestly, it's not the worst one in her collection, not by a long way. Again, it's not really anything too special or original, but she's definitely made an attempt with this, and she's definitely trying to like subvert.
I wouldn't say it's fun, Rachel.
Fun with this and some of her other poems.
Rachel, stop saying fun.
Not brilliant, but not bad either. Yeah, the video did really, really well. It reached 1 million views. It was my second video to reach 1 million reviews after part 1 of me reviewing To Train Up a Child by Michael and Debbie Pearl. It's now outwatched? No, it's now got more watches than that video by about maybe 200,000, I think. Maybe 150,000. But my point is, it wasn't my first video to have that kind of success. And it absolutely wasn't my last either. I've had others do well since. The other thing is, people seem to think that I must have made like a crap ton of money off that video. For some reason, I didn't know. Even though it got 1 million views, at this point 1.3 million, for some reason, with it being short, with the CPM being whatever it was at the time, with me just coming off a huge breakdown and a little bit of a hiatus to posting regular content, like there was some, but it wasn't good content, it wasn't regular content. Anyway, all of that put together meant that I had a really low CPM on that video, and at the time, I think I made about £300 on it, off 1 million views, which is nothing. So, didn't do it for money. A lot of people asked for a part 2 because I barely touched on any of the poems in the book, so I made a part 2. Again, I stand by that. I think it's absolutely fine. But since you guys liked the last video on Gabby Hanna's poetry so much, I have taken your suggestions. I tried to read as many of those comments as I could.
Whoa, look at those earrings. Whoa.
Poems from her book, Adultolescence. Oh, why is that so hard to say? Words. The first poem we're going to start with from Gabby is very simplistic, which in itself is by no means
that damn drink is back.
A bad thing. Some of the best poems and even short stories out there are incredibly simple. Think of the short story that was supposed to be like,
What'd I do?
Right, like the saddest or scariest story ever written, and it's just simply for sale, baby shoes.
The smallest man who ever lived.
Writing doesn't have to be long or complicated to, really hit you in the feels. It doesn't have to be overly complex to say a lot. Gabby's poem is simple. It's basic. It's also an example of her trying out little wordplay, which I really appreciate, but sadly, it just kind of falls flat. It's nice to see that she's attempting something.
This is all such valid criticism.
Let's take a look at it. This is her poem, Relative. Time is relative. Beauty is relative. Family is relatives. Yeah. So, sadly, there's not really a huge amount to unpack when analysing this poem. Sadly. Time and beauty being relative, fairly standard phrases. We use them all the time. Basically the whole idea that beauty's in the eye of the beholder, along that kind of thing. Basically saying they're kind of subjective. How we experience.
And the book publisher saw this and went, brilliant. Brilliant.
Interpret them is subjective. Time can go faster or slower depending on how you're experiencing the situation, whether you're having fun.
I'm so obsessed with Rachel trying to unpack this like it's deep. Time is relative. Beauty is relative. Family is relative.
Yeah, that's where it kind of starts to get a little more, I don't know, there's more of an attempt at complexity and meaning here, Family, it's often said you can't choose your family. Yet we call them relatives. Gabby's definitely trying to go for a little bit of like irony here and wordplay and so on. Gabby trying to make the point that, saying maybe we can decide our own family, or she's saying we can't and we're stuck with them. It's a little ambiguous, not necessarily in a good way. It's hard to see
Baby, call it what it is. It's shit.
Interesting idea. Playing kind of with homographs and homonyms and homophones, in this case homographs. Taking that, the idea of playing with it, but never really developing it, never really going any further with it, never really pushing any ideas. And then I made a part 3. And in part 3 I was a little snarkier than the others, I'll be honest. But at that point I was sort of sick of reading the book, so yeah, I was absolutely
fair.
About the text than others. I definitely gave her less benefit of the doubt in that part 3. I was just fed up with it at that point. I'm human, I have emotions, that's what happens. I'll be honest, when I sat down to make some videos talking about Gabby Hanna's poetry book and analysing the poetry in it and comparing it to some like actual good and classic bits of poetry, I didn't expect it to do well. I thought it'd be one of the videos on my channel that's like a bit of a passion project but no one actually watches. I am still completely in shock, but I'm also quite proud that this nerdy little like passion project of mine got so many people talking about Gabby and her poetry and just poetry in general. It's really nice to see so many people having these conversations and sharing poems that they like and stuff. And yeah, I feel kind of relevant and almost cool for the first time in my life. But I went for coffee and burgers and a cheeky cocktail, for me, not her, yesterday with the wonderful YouTuber who you probably know as Alizi. She is a wonderful, funny, amazing person. She's like,
what did you have? Coffee and burgers and a cheeky cocktail. What an interesting trio. Coffee with a burger and then a cocktail? Huh? Well, my stomach could not handle that. My stomach's after a coffee and a burger, seeing a cocktail about to come down. No!
yesterday with the wonderful YouTuber who you probably know as Alizi. She is a wonderful, funny, amazing person. She's like, I had a really good time with her.
Coffee, cocktail, and a burger?
Feed Kyra and take her to the toilet and stuff. And I was like, oh god. But we had a really
Take her to the toilet. I'm fucking sure after all that.
so many amazing stories, and I love spending time with her. And Gabby Hanna came up, and she was like, I've been thinking about doing a video on it myself. I'm like, do it. I'll send you my copy of the book. And she was like, well, you know, if you want to do your third video, now's probably the time. So we both kind of like inspired each other a little bit. And I sat down last night, and I was like, okay, these are the poems I want to talk about for now. Again, I still have more I want to talk about. So I have so much potential content. Sorry, that's my phone. I have so much potential content. I'm not quite sure how much to make, but I sat down, I looked at these last night, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I was like reading through my notes again. I was like really enjoying it. And I just kind of like had a lot of fun with it. So that's what we're doing today. We're having fun with poetry. Okay, first up, we are starting with a poem which I feel personally attacked by, called Concealer. You may not realize it looking at me, but I quite like my makeup. So this poem hit me hard. Concealer. I wear makeup because I have acne. I have acne because I wear makeup. I swear Gabby Hanna is the only person in the world who could, to such an extent.
Gabby Hanna should be charged on a federal level for charging people for this poetry. She should be in prison for this. I wear makeup because I have acne. I have acne because I wear makeup. She deserves a fine.
With two dull, unoriginal lines, spread so much misinformation about makeup, and managed to perpetuate shallow stereotypes about women. 2 lines, and she causes so much trouble. How does she do it? It's a skill. I know that Gabby said she was inspired by Bo Burnham in this poetry book, and you can definitely see this in this line. I say line, it's 2 lines long. In this poem, this is not a whole poem. God, I'm really bitter today. Sorry. That's what it is today. I'm just like, my bitterness and my sarcasm and my like quite dry sense of humor is just like, bleh. Anyway, I know Gabby said she was inspired.
I love her.
And I love Bo Burnham. And you can definitely see that in this poem. You know, all I hear when I read this are Bo Burnham's lines, I don't go to the gym because I'm self-conscious about my body, I'm self-conscious about my body because I don't go to the gym. Irony can be so painful, that's a catch-22. A wonderful set of lines from his song Can't Handle This, which is probably one of my favourite Bo Burnham songs, tracks, just pieces of work of all time. It's clever, funny, real, raw, relatable, completely heartbreaking, very catchy, it sticks in your head, and it's one that I really relate to, so it's very, very special to me. Which is why, once again, it kind of hurts me that Gabby took something so special to me and butchered it. The thing is, recently I've seen some comments from people saying things like, Rachel Oates started this, she attacked Gabby first, she went after Gabby. I don't necessarily agree with.
Reviewing a book on a channel that you're reviewing books on is not attacking someone. Having an opinion on something that is not raving review of it is not attacking it. It can be subjective. It can be, art is subjective, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You can love a song and someone can hate it. Like, someone can hate it. You can love a poem and someone fucking laughs at it. Like, art is subjective, and that is what's really beautiful about it. And if an artist can't appreciate that, then in my opinion, they're not an artist.
What Gabby said about her later, but Rachel started it by being so rude and so personal, so mean about Gabby. And I don't remember doing that. So I went back and watched the videos, and it's just not true. There's no personal attacks on Gabby in those videos. There's parts where I call her writing lazy, that's for sure. There's parts where I will...
That's just a fact, hun.
...very bluntly critique the writing, but I don't attack Gabby personally at all. There's no name-calling, there's nothing personal about it. I definitely didn't have any personal vendetta against her at the time. Like, I kind of couldn't care less who she was. You know, it's just what it was. I literally went back and...
Like how Adam likes the Torture Poets department and I don't like it. Did you really have to bring that up? What'd you get out of that? What'd you get out of that? Straight from the Tortured Poets department. And for a fortnight there we were forever. For so long London had a good run. Moment of warm sun. But I'm not the one. And you say I abandoned the ship, but I was going down with it. My white knuckle dying grip. Holding tight to your quiet resentment. And my friend said it isn't right to be scared. Every day will love affair. Every breath feels like where is there. Whatever the words are. And you're not sure if it wants to be... I'm not ready yet. There. I don't know the rest. Were you sent by someone? Who wanted me dead? Did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed? Were you writing a book? Were you a sleeper cell spied? And 50 years will all this be declassified, and you'll confess why you did it. And I'll say good riddance straight from the tortured Linda department. That's a deep lore joke. If you're watching this on the replay, you need to watch the live stream to catch up with the lore. Were you writing a book? Were you writing a book? Were you writing a book? Were you me to Gabby Hanna when she threatens to release another poetry? Were you writing a book? My boy. Someone said, great, I just got an ad. Perfect timing. Fuck you. But I understand why. My boy only breaks his favorite toe. Once I fix me, he's gonna miss me. That one? Crazy. So real. Straight from the tortured Linda department.
And I was going through it, I'm like, wait, so where's this nastiness people have been telling me I said? And the thing is, sometimes I do watch back old videos, I'm like, crap, I was way too blunt there. Oh my god, like I was really emotional there. Oh, I was harsher than I probably should have been there. Like, absolutely I do that. I think when you make the kinds of content that I do, it's hard to not get emotional about it. And sometimes that does mean getting over emotional, you know? I have to step back sometimes and be like, hang on, am I really being objective here? Because when you get so, for example, like bogged down in reading the history of people, words. Sometimes when you get so bogged down in reading about the history of people, all of that clouds your judgment on, like, say, what they're doing now. So, for example, I've made a couple of videos on Carissa Collins. I did the saga of Carissa Collins, which was about her whole history, her whole blogging history, how she's treated her family and her pets and that sort of thing. And then she also wrote 2 books, which I've reviewed as well. And sometimes I look back in particular at the second 2 book reviews and I think, oh, you know what, maybe I was a little harsh there. Maybe I could have been kinder there. Maybe I should have given her the benefit of the doubt there and there. But then at the same time, I realised that it's easy to do that when you're taking those books or those videos in isolation, but when you put them into her bigger story, I understand why I was so emotional and reacted the way I did. Because, so for example, if she's telling a story about like her kid's health or something, maybe I'm
a monster
of the doubt nowadays as I would have with a random person, but that's because I'm clouded by the knowledge that, you know, she nearly killed her dog and she's been medically negligent of her young children to the point where one ended up in intensive care from an untreated UTI twice. Do you know what I mean? So that past knowledge does cloud my judgment sometimes in a way that makes me over-emotional, which other people might not understand where that emotion comes from. Does that make any sense? So I feel like that's what happens sometimes when I can be too harsh. I just get very, very emotional and worked up about things. And it's something that I do try and work on, and it's something that I do try and be better on. But at the same time, I'm also realising that I shouldn't need to suppress my emotions, because emotions aren't a bad thing. Emotions are what make us human. And I think it's okay and it's normal for me to express emotions like frustration at people being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for lazy, mediocre work. I think, looking back, that is a perfectly valid emotion and reaction and response. And while it might lead me to being a little bit blunt at times, I still don't think there was anything wrong in the critiques I made. My video...
I don't think, as well, even if there were, like, you don't have to apologize for being critical of something. It is your own perception, and what, are we not allowing anyone to give any fucking criticism anymore? Please.
The third one was a little harsh, I'll give you that. I'll absolutely give you harsh. I will give you that. Oh, God, words, sorry. But overall, when I look at the content of those videos, there were no personal attacks on Gabby. There was no name calling. There was nothing too harsh. I literally just critiqued her work in as objective a way as I could and compared it to the work of other poets. If anything, the focus on those videos was
torture poets
and how they did a good job. And it
the tortured Linda department.
YouTube drama as a way to facilitate a conversation about poetry to educate people. That was the point in those videos. And I think up to the point where Gabby got involved, it succeeded in doing that. Absolutely. So after I made the first video, somewhere between me making the first and the third video, I don't know when exactly it happened, my video got popular and James Marriott watched my video and he took my idea. And I don't say that to be like, oh, you took my idea. No, like he's literally said in videos, he saw my video, took the idea. He didn't credit me or anything, he just did the same thing as me. But
damn, I did not know about that. I did not know about that. So did he start it then?
I admit I'm biased here because I don't...
Start it isn't in terms of like really like pissing Gabby off. Poking the Gabby Hanna bear. Amen.
I don't think he's particularly funny or nice. I don't enjoy his content, and I don't like what I've seen of him as a person. But he took my video idea, he made the same video, but he was far harsher than me in it.
Gag.
He reviewed the poetry on a literary level. He just kind of made stupid jokes. He did make personal attacks about Gabby, and he would do things like where he read out a poem and then made vomiting noises to the camera.
Time is relative. Beauty is relative. Family is relative. Oh, I think I'm crying. This is what the Ghost Pepper Challenge feels like. Most of the poems are about, oh, I'm sad, I like eating fast food. And whilst there are a couple that I thought were passable, I folded the pages of all of the ones that made me cringe, so there's quite a lot of problems here. So page 4, we have her poem, O Positive. I donated blood today.
Sorry, that was crazy.
Pages of all of the ones that made me cringe, so there's quite a lot of problems here. Page 4, we have her poem, O Positive. I donated blood today. Feels good to finally be somebody's type. Oh. That's the kind of thing a 14-year-old virgin would say. Like, Gabby, no, you've had relationships. You are clearly someone's type. Probably not mine, though, to be fair. Here we have a poem which takes up 2 pages, and it's got a couple illustrations on it. Life sucks. Be grateful. You woke up this morning. That's the worst part. Oh, it's good. It's because she wants to be dead.
It was an entirely different style of video to mine, just with the same subject matter. But his got really big. I think at the time it got something like 2 million views, which was way more than mine, and he was a way bigger channel. He still is, I think. I don't know, I haven't seen what he's doing in years. But we were making very different styles of videos to cater to very different audiences. Absolutely fine, you know, that happens. And that kind of set off this big trend of a lot of different people reviewing Gabby Hanna's poetry to different degrees. Everyone had a different audience and everyone was taking a different approach. Some people were more analytical, like I was. Some people were more personal, like James was. But it's what happens. Everyone puts their own spin on things, right? You guys know I'm friends with Elise and Evangelina Scott and love them to bits, but often we'll end up reviewing the same books and we all end up like sharing ideas between us in the group chat and like pointing out different bits. And we're all kind of commentary in a way, but I'm more slightly like analytical with my approach. Elise is more kind of humorous in her approach, and Evangelina's more kind of like, here's the facts.
Evangelina? As in the Evangelina? I love Evangelina.
You know, so we all sometimes cover the same topics, but in very
My little Irish queen.
And sometimes, you know, we'll send each other bits, be like, oh, you need to talk about this chapter, or oh, you should talk about this chapter, all that sort of thing. Again, it's not a bad thing, and I think sometimes when you have interesting topics, the more people talking about it, the better, and the more different perspectives, the better. Because especially when it's something like, you know, like, it did warm my little heart to see all these people like talking about poetry and passionate about poetry, something that I had loved for so long, but that just hadn't been cool before. I kind of loved that, and even things like seeing people have different interpretations of poems to what I had, that was lovely.
Straight from the tortured poets department.
And the personal attacks and stuff like that, that made me feel dirty and wrong, but I don't like seeing that kind of content about anyone. It's why I don't like James Marriott and his content. Simple as that. I find his style mean and I don't enjoy watching it, and I didn't like the fact that my idea had inspired that meanness. Does that make sense? And so I didn't like seeing that. But overall, I did like seeing people talk about poetry, and there were some really thoughtful discussions out there. Like, I think it was Ready to Glare, maybe, she covered it as well, and she was quite thoughtful about it, and she looked at it from a literary perspective. Loved seeing that. And yeah, there was just a lot of stuff out there like that. Right, what happened next? Yeah, next was some time went on, like a couple of months passed, and I wanted a silly little project with Kyra, still struggling with, like, mental health stuff. So me and her did this silly project where I kind of took inspiration from Gabby's book in a sense, in that sometimes I just take like a title or a structure or something like that, and I rewrote them to be from like a dog's perspective and left blank slots in the poems, which I would then have like different words on cards and put snacks on them, and then Kyra had to pick a card, like she picked a snack and I picked a card and a word, and then she completed the poems. And it was a really stupid little thing, and we put together I don't even know if I have a physical copy of that book anymore. It's probably around somewhere.
Rachel might think you're mean, Adam. I think Rachel would fucking despise me. If she thinks that James clip was mean, I don't think Rachel will be a fan of me. That's fine.
There it is, actually. I'm on a little poetry show.
Because art is subjective.
There we go. Dogger lessons. This was our little thing that we did together, and it was just, look at my little baby there. She's gorgeous. I love this girl so much. It was meant to just be a silly, fun project for me and Kyra to do together while I was going through some stuff.
That's really cute.
See me on the camera, because it's all just focused on you. Mwah. All right, I'm still off camera, but this will do, because you want to be close to you. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm like crouching on the floor so you can see me here. But hi, everyone. I'm here with Karoo today, and she knows I have snacks, so she's very excited, aren't you? Today, we are going to be together, me and this little one, are going to be writing some poetry. We have some prompt cards. It's basically Mad Lib style, where I have notes with gaps to fill in. She's going to be picking words on cards, and we are going to be using snacks to convince her. It should be fun.
Aw, this is so cute.
Turkey nibbles from Tails, and we also have cheesy nibbles with a little bit of beef, and we have some beef and poultry flavors.
If I did this with Bonnie, my dog, I think she would just eat the paper. Ironically, she ate my Trisha Paytas poetry book. I'm not even kidding. She had it. I posted a photo of it on Twitter. She had it. Like last year. I was like, oh, I'm going to film a video reviewing it. And in my video reviewing it, whether that one or whenever I did it on a live stream, there was like bite marks out of it. Bonnie went, she was hungry, I guess.
Putting some cards down on the floor, putting snacks on them, and whichever one she chooses first is the word we're going to use to fill in the blank in the poem. We'll see if this works or not, okay? I have no idea. I'm probably crouching in front of the camera awkwardly like this for God knows what reason. Because I love you, eh? Come here, Bean. I know. Good girl. Alright, sit. Good girl. Paul, thank you. Here's your first one. Let me go. Now, don't judge me. I don't mean to be a terrible person, but all the poems we're going to be doing today are parodies of Gabby Hanna terrible poems that we've talked about and critiqued in the past. So, with that, hello. With that, we're going to start on the first poem by Kyra, which is called Boyfriend. And we're going to decide who your boyfriend is first, aren't we? Yes. Who's your boyfriend, Kyra? All right, Shmoogie Bear. Are you ready to write a poem? Okay, so the first choices are your boyfriend. Is your boyfriend going to be Ronnie or Harry? Ronnie, gorgeous little cocker spaniel. Harry, fluffy little Pomeranian. She loves them both. Don't you? I know. All right, sit. Good girl. Okay, let's put these down so you can see who they are. Okay, you've got Ronnie and Harry to choose from. Wait. I'm going to go with the cheesy nibbles for now. This one for Harry. This one for Ronnie. All right, wait. Go. Oh, Ronnie's the first choice. Kyra loves Ronnie. Okay.
Also the one that was directly in front of her, but all right.
So now we have to figure out what are you doing with Ronnie. Okay, apparently these pens are not waterproof. You can see the smudging.
Sorry, me hating on the dog. It was the one in front of it, lazy dog. I'm kidding. That's actually really cute. Is that book still available? I would love to buy that. It's really cute. I always heard Gabby had a problem with like Rachel bullied her and like made another book or something like that. Is that really it? Please, it's so stupid to cause a problem over that.
Was fun. I loved that little bonding moment with her. I loved picking out all the little photos of her to go in here. I loved, even though the poems are bad, I loved writing from her perspective. One poem was a genuine one. It's called...
Her dog wrote the poem, sleep is... What is it again? Sometimes I wake up to eat or pee. Otherwise I'd sleep for eternity. Kyra, you're an amazing poet.
This was completely original. This is what I wrote for her. And... yeah, it was a silly little thing for us to do together. And because I actually wanted
what the dog do
read it and listen to it, I thought, oh, it'll be funny if like I pretend it's like, well, not pretend, like if I make it like a Dogger-lessons parody and call it Dogger-lessons, right? And yeah, that's... Oh yeah, like sorry, even inside I say, it started as a joke between me and fellow YouTuber Elise when I told her we should make a video where Kyra writes poetry. Even this idea wasn't original though, as I was inspired by Super Ray Dizzle's video where she got her dog to choose her art supplies. And these ideas only came together after I critiqued Gabby Hanna's interesting poetry collection, Adulter-lessons. So it wasn't just one thing, and it definitely wasn't like an attack on
that book is really cute. People are saying you can still buy it. I need to get it.
A way to get other people interested in it. And like I say, like the formatting isn't perfect. It's a bit silly. I have an about the author section, which is just about Kyra. I thought it was really cute and really silly and really fun. And we had a good time with it. We didn't make a lot of money at first. We made probably like, what, 50, 60 quid off it, something like that. And I donated that to Battersea, where I adopted her from. And yeah, it was a cute, silly little thing for me and her to do together. And that was it. It didn't garner a lot of attention, didn't make a lot of money, but what it did make was given it to charity, and I thought that was the end of it. Then... Okay, a couple of brief points in here that I forgot to mention, like, chronologically, is that there were actually, like, two other videos, and I do bring them up later, but there was one where I was talking about, like, intent versus outcome in art, and I used one of Gabby's poems as an example. Didn't, like, put her in the title, but I think I put the book in the thumbnail. And then the other was when Gabby responded to a bunch of the criticism, and then I responded to that response. But again, like, so, and I think I briefly mentioned this later, but I feel like it's important to do it chronologically. Up until she did that response to criticism and put me in the tags and that sort of thing and mentioned me in that, I didn't know she'd seen my videos at all, so I didn't think she ever would see them, because I was a small child. Nobody. Still am nobody. And then I responded because I had things to say, but I still don't think I was ever, like, personal. There were no personal attacks. I was never nasty to her. There was none of that. I don't know. I'll include some clips for you here so you can see. I do speak about them later in the video, I think, but I just want to try and make sure it's all chronological. So, let's jump into it and see how Gabby started this response to the criticisms of her, because I actually thought she started in a really positive way.
I want to start by saying this. I'm a public figure and I put out my art publicly. By doing that, I'm fully open to reviews and thus criticism. This is not new.
This is great. This is fantastic. This is such a positive response. This is how you should be, saying, I'm fully open to reviews and criticism. Brilliant. But then she ruins it by going on to compare herself. I mean, she says she doesn't, but she does. She compares herself to people like Steven Spielberg and Gordon Ramsay. And she's like, and they still get criticism, but their work is still good.
Now, this is obviously not to say that I'm on the same level or of the same caliber as Quentin Tarantino, Ariana Grande, or Gordon Ramsay, but it does go to show that people will have differing opinions. And just because you like something that someone doesn't like, or you don't like something that someone does like, doesn't make it inherently good or bad. That is what art is. It's subjective.
The other thing I will say before we properly get started is...
So obsessed with her being like, I accept criticism, and then her being like, yeah, but like if you criticize me, you know, it really stems from you just having a different perspective and you not understanding me.
is that poetry is completely subjective.
I truly don't get upset when people make fun of my music or my poetry because it's a matter of preference. And at the end of the day, I'm still working.
She doesn't get upset if you criticize her. I struggle to believe that, honey.
On my craft and growing, and there's a lot of people out there who do like it. I'm not.
Yes, she did compare herself to Ariana Grande. I just tried to hope that no one heard that, and I was gonna move on from that.
Creating for people who don't like my stuff. I'm creating for people who do. So if I don't like something, does that make it bad? No. It's a matter of preference, and that's art, baby.
So it completely undermines everything she just said about being fully open to reviews and criticism, because she's just turning around saying, well, I might get criticism, but that doesn't mean I'm bad. That doesn't mean I have to listen to it. I'm still good. And that just kind of undermines the whole point of saying I'm open to criticism in the first place. It's frustrating. Very frustrating.
It's a very misunderstood book, and I'll get to that. But I admit, I look through it, and a lot of the pages feel rushed. Because
I'm so obsessed with Gabby saying that she's misunderstood when she gets criticism. I'm gonna start using that one. Guys, I'm just misunderstood. I misunderstood you guys. Please. I'm misunderstood. You wouldn't get it.
There's a lot of humor in here. I lean a lot more heavily into the jokes and the puns and the wordplay, and that's what it was more than trying to be a serious poetry book. But it was marketed as a Shel Silverstein parody, and that is the one place I do care to defend adolescence.
I'm sorry, but again, this part really annoyed me. And the thing is, I tried to be so fair I tried to be really fair in my critiques of her poetry, and despite the fact I called some of them out being hypocritical, I tried to mostly just focus on her poetry and the work and let the work stand for itself. Like, I looked at the technique she used.
Hi, Pixie Lux.
Used similar or the same techniques and done them well. That was how I approached those initial videos. And I'm sorry, but people aren't criticizing Gabby's work because it's silly and contains wordplay. They're criticizing it. I, in particular, am criticizing it because it's lazy and poorly written. Also, the fact she's saying this is a parody of...
And I would argue that it's shit.
She knows what a parody is. Exactly. I think Gabby's maybe trying to say that her book is a tribute to Shel Silverstein or inspired by Shel Silverstein, but it's very clearly in no way a parody or satire of their work. I mean, if you want to, get kind of douchey for a second and say, well, the definition of a parody is, but the definition of a parody is that it's like an imitation of someone's work with, this exaggeration of certain features to make it funnier or whatever. That's exactly what me and Kyra did when we released Adolescence, which, for you guys who don't know, is a literal parody of Gabby's work in which I even mentioned...
It's still available!
...inspiration from and which ones I was parodying. And we did that, and we exaggerated the silly bits and the poorly written bits and tried to make them funny. And for some of them, we just tried to improve the poems. And it was funny because we made them all about Kyra, or written from Kyra's perspective. And for those of you who don't know, Kyra's my dog, hence why Dog-a-lessons. That's a parody. Gabby's book is in no way a parody, and nothing about it says it's parodying Shel Silverstein. Inspired by, maybe, but...
This is a really good argument. It's really great to make this argument of what I was doing was a direct parody, and here's why, and you can clearly see it in everything from the promotion to the cover to the title. Gabby relying on, well, my one was parody as well, is really like a cheap way of getting out of people criticizing her. And I feel like she would do this a lot, where if she ever made a joke that didn't land, she would compare it to comedians that she likes, or, I'm inspired by, or it's a parody. And it's like, no, you're just not doing that niche really great, if I'm being honest, and a lot of people are being honest about it. So I'm gonna be honest, it's crazy to open it with being like, I accept different perspectives, and then ending it with so I'm a parody, so you can't come for me.
I know, sorry, I'm getting too... Today we are going to be talking about bad poetry again. So I want to make sure I'm not repeating myself in my videos, but what I will say now is that my inspiration for this video was seeing a tweet from Gabby Hanna. And now I don't just want to become a channel that just is oh, Gabby Hanna sucked. No, I talk about so much more than just that. And I also talk about good poetry, don't I? Yes.
That's me, babe.
And there's a whole playlist of happy positive things if you want to go check it out. I'm very aware I don't want to make this video or any of my content all about Gabby, because I know she's going through a tough time at the minute. I know she's kind of struggling, and I don't want to add to that. But...
Adam, don't gatekeep what pills you take for plane travel. Babe, I sit awake the entire plane ride, rocking back and forth, and stopping myself from going in and out of paranoia, panic attacks. I am the worst person when it comes to travel. I wish I had pills. You know that Shane Dawson video where he takes pills and he's like, ooh, I'm no longer scared to fly. Give me that.
So yesterday or the day before or whenever it was, she released a tweet about a poem that I had a huge issue with in my first video on her poetry. And it kind of got me thinking. I didn't really respond to the tweet at first when I first saw it. I was like, whatever. But it kind of stuck in my head and it got me thinking. And I kind of want to talk about this whole topic of what makes a poem bad, and how some people use allusions in a good way or bad.
Now, again, art is subjective, but this point that Rachel keeps honing in on, laziness, is a completely different thing. And it's very clear that the poems that Gabby was making they were lazy. And that's a disrespect to people that are buying it as well. Yeah, you have to make a certain amount of poems so you can sell the book, but it's it's lazy that people are spending money on this, and the poems are fucking terribly written, or just fucking 2 sentences. Sleep is neat.
That way, and how putting your personal life into your poetry can be a great thing or a really terrible thing. And also the difference between things like art and merchandise. And Gabby Hanna's poem is the perfect example to talk about this with. It exemplifies all my thoughts. It's a really good jumping off point, and so that is why we're going to be talking about it today. The poem that I'm referring to is called Cut. Because honestly, it genuinely upset me. It was the one poem in the book that genuinely hurt me. I found it hard to read, never mind talk about. Even now, this is a little bit difficult, A lot of the work in that book was laughably bad, and people mocked it, kind of rightly so. I critiqued it, I said what was bad about it, what was good about it, what could be done better about it, but this one, I didn't talk about in much detail because it felt like I was being personally mocked. My experiences were being used as a joke and a punchline. It felt like someone was coming up to me, laughing at me, and slapping me in the face. I wish I was exaggerating. So to summarize, what I took away...
I assume there might be a little bit of a trigger warning here. If the poem's called Cut, I'm just gonna make a guess. Putting a little PSA out there. I may be completely wrong, but...
From her poem, after multiple readings, was that self-harm to Gabby is a punchline. It's something for shock value. It's something to
I was correct.
It's there for laughs. It's there for an interesting twist. And as someone who has struggled with self-harm for over a decade now, and honestly I still do, it hurt me a hell of a lot. At the time when I first read that poem, I was coming out of a really rough patch where I'd been doing a hell of a lot. Now I'm at a point where it's less. It's been about 3 weeks since I last did it, and before then it was nearly a month. So, you know, I'm getting better. I'm in a better place now. This is one of my high points, you know, as opposed to like 6 years ago when it was every day, 2-3 times a day. So as someone who's been personally affected by this, and also a poetry lover, it hurt. And that's not to say all poetry about self-harm or that references self-harm makes me feel that way. I've spoken a lot about Simon Armitage's poem, I Say before, which touches on the topic of self-harm, depression, suicide, but does it in such a fantastic way. He uses this voice of almost like a comedian talking to a big crowd, or someone trying to kind of like get everyone riled up and be like, oh, okay, who here has felt like this? And he takes this very kind of light, jovial tone and turns it into something really serious and deep. And he's taking something that only maybe a few people have done, but that everyone can relate to in some way. He takes quite a taboo topic and brings it to the masses and talks about it in a way that is heartfelt, but that everyone can relate to. Gabby didn't do that, and that's why it hurt. I moved up to Leeds, and Gabby Hanna reached out to me one day, and she said something like, hey...
So Rachel's in Leeds. Shout out Leeds. I love Leeds. I've been there once. I had a fun night out there. I got so drunk.
I really want it in the hands of people who love poetry. And I was like, that is such an honor, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. And I even gave her my home address, like my personal home address, because I thought it was so big of her, I thought it was so mature, I thought it was great. But at the same time, just because I'm given a free book, that's not going to cloud my review. It's still going to be an objective review. And I say this as someone who has reviewed friends' books and stuff before. Like, on here, I've got my friend Gabby's book. She's one of my oldest friends. Reviewed her books completely.
Your friend Gabby Hanna?
Objectively. I've got, if you guys know Savvy Writes Books, I bought... If you guys know Savvy Writes Books, here on YouTube, her book 90s Kids, I bought that myself, reviewed it, and I think they're brilliant. They're great, even though I know the people love the books. Really, really good. I just think it's an integrity thing, you know? If you make your name reviewing books, you need to be objective in reviewing books, even when they're sent to you, right? So she sent me her second book, Dandelion, and...
Okay, so here's the thing. Gabby is literally going out of her way to send these books as well. So, like, if you have such a problem with the way that these are being reviewed, I don't understand why you think that if you would send the copy that maybe it would be a better review just because you sent it. Like, this is the case of, like, if you're going to review a company's makeup and you talk shit and then they send it to you and you're like, I love this. Just because a company or a person sends something to you for free doesn't mean you have to love it, which I guess Gabby was maybe doing here. I mean, I'm trying to see Gabby's perspective, but, like, unless Gabby was being genuine and thought the book was so much better, but I mean, I struggle to believe that.
It was an improvement on the total lessons, but not as much as I would have hoped, which was really sad and really disappointing. In the meantime, in between all of this, I've been making a ton more poetry videos, plus my other regular content and stuff like that. So I've reviewed people like Trisha Paytas's poetry book. I reviewed Bella Thorne's poetry book. I reviewed... Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'd also reviewed Milk and Honey. I reviewed Atticus's poetry. Halsey, I still don't really know quite how to pronounce that. I'd done Lana Del Rey's. I'd done a whole video on like an intro to poetry, how to read poetry. I'd covered we'll talk about Bo Burnham in a second actually. But I'd covered Bo Burnham's poetry book and said it was a little disappointing. I'd also done a lyrical analysis of one of his songs entitled Bo Burnham's a Genius. But again, we'll talk about that in a second. So Gabby sent me her book. I was really impressed with her maturity in doing that. I was really honoured to review it. And so I gave a...
It was a trap. It was a trap. She was trapping you.
Completely unbiased review. And I opened that review by being...
She did not want you to give an unbiased review. That's the thing.
So complimentary of Gabby's maturity, saying that like it really showed growth, that it was so good to see her being so mature, and I was really complimentary, really good. And Gabby actually reached out to me over Twitter to ask if I wanted a copy of her latest book, Dandelion. She told me that she wanted the book in the hands of, in her words, people who actually love poetry, and Oof. My full thinking is like, did Gabby think that she was going to get an unbiased review? Did she think the book was so good, or did she think sending it would stop Rachel buying the book and therefore probably being more critical? I think probably the latter. She included me in, those kinds of people. So, thank you to her for recognizing that. And, she sent me this little beauty. Rachel goes, thank you so much for the PR. #gifted. This book sucks. This book is shit. last week, the week before, I can't remember. It only just turned up. Anyway, I have to say, I have to give Gabby a hell of a lot of credit for reaching out to me in that way and for sending me her book, even though I critiqued her last one pretty harshly. I think it shows a hell of a lot of growth and maturity and more of a willingness to take criticism and learn more than she ever displayed before. So for that, I have a hell of a lot of respect for her and definitely...
It's a trap!
But this isn't a review of Gabby or her character, or this is a book review. So let's talk about the book. And then I went through the poems, and overall, like, I spoke about how there was a lot of improvement in places, but also something was still very disappointing and low effort. Again, I did the typical, here's a poem, let's compare it to another, let's talk about the literary techniques thing. None of it was, other than complimenting her and saying it was nice to see her maturity, none of it was personal to Gabby. There was still no personal insults in there. The most personal thing would be if I called her writing lazy or low effort or things like that. But again...
Which is fair.
So... This is Gabby's second collection of poetry, and it is titled Dandelion. Dandelion has been released about 3 years after Adolescence, and around 1 year after Gabby faced a hell of a lot of criticism for that first book being poorly written, a lazy attempt at poetry, full of cliches, and honestly just a bit of an insult to actual good poets. Critics like myself tried to look at that first book of hers, and we tried to say, okay, I see what you were going for here, but here's where it went wrong, here's where you could have improved it, here are some other examples of poems trying to do the same thing, but they've actually succeeded or done it better. I really genuinely thought that in the 3 years since her last book, and year since all that criticism, Gabby would have taken all that feedback and used all that time to really improve her work. I really had high hopes for this book, and I really thought it was going to be good. I thought she would try and add more depth to her work. I thought she would try and develop her ideas further. I thought she'd play around with a lot more poetic techniques. I thought she'd do something more.
And all this is not bad to say as well. Like, dude, it's just so frustrating that, like, this blew up into the situation it was for no goddamn reason. Being critical, looking at things analytically, comparing poems and stuff is not just being negative. This is ridiculous that this turned into this big vendetta Gabby had against her. You sent the book!
Really high expectations for the book, but I figured it's got to be better than the last one. You know, it can't really get much worse, can it? So what I can say is that while her illustrations, while still not really anything too special, have definitely improved. I mean, we're not seeing this anymore, thankfully. And there are definitely some positives with the book, which I will discuss briefly at the end, although annoyingly my script is so long I don't have time to go into too many of them in this video. I guess what I honestly have to say after reading Dandelion is that I am incredibly disappointed. And I really didn't want to have to say that. I really want to see an improvement. And I actually think I would go as far to say that most of the poems in here are worse than adolescence. I genuinely think that, and it is so disappointing to say. But before I get all emotional, my first big critique of Dandelion is exactly the same.
Brittle. Wow. I don't think Gabrielle Hanna was expecting that one. Can I get an amen? You know, because she like prayers and stuff. Amen, Gabby.
Most of the content in here is filler, but in this book there's a lot more repetition of it, which is very, very annoying. You basically see the same poem like 3 times throughout the book, which means this book could have been a third of the size and still be a disappointment. I would have much preferred if she'd taken all of these semi-finished similar poems and kind of combined them into one really good, well-thought-out poem. The repetition of these nearly the same terrible poems, mostly one-liners and stuff, gets very boring very quickly. So let's take a look at a couple of examples, and one of the big kind of repetitive things that's in this book that's in several poems is the idea of her crying in public, or more specifically crying in her car. That's repeated throughout, and it's so exhausting that it literally makes me want to go out and buy a car just so I can have her cry in it over this book. The earliest one is titled Money, and it reads, if I had $1 for every time a stranger saw me cry in public, I still couldn't buy happiness. And then it contains a doodle of some money. This to me is not a poem, it's just like a...
Also, the thing is with this poem book, the illustrations, is anyone else clocking, go over like 2 pages and they're so huge. It's like a way of just filling up space. If I ever released a poetry book, you bet your ass the illustrations are going from page 1 to page 60. And it's just doodles.
A generic Tumblr post or a Tumblr joke with a few line breaks thrown in and nothing more. Even the illustrations here are a bit of a letdown because they're not exactly realistic notes, they're very cartoony, which means she could have done a hell of a lot with them. There was a lot of potential there, and I wish she'd done something a little more creative. For example, she could have drawn on the cash images of things that she was upset about or that made her cry, you know? As for the content of the poem itself, I would analyse it further, but there's not anything to analyse. There's legitimately nothing there to pick apart or look at. No poetic techniques, no real structure or rhythm or anything of any substance. It's a tweet or a Tumblr post or an Instagram caption. It's not a poem. Moving on, and one of the last...
I think that's such a good point. It's a tweet at most. It's a doodle book. It's a coloring book. Where are the crayons?
Cars is a poem called Pit. They told me I'd never use my education, but thanks Professor Brownell, I know the reason my eyes water at the sound of my car door unlocking. The last poem on this topic of crying in public / your car that I do want to talk about in a little bit more detail is called Tinted, which again has an interesting, if slightly unoriginal idea, but at least I think it has a bit of potential. This one would really benefit from an editor, and what I'd like to have seen is the ideas in this poem edited and combined with the ideas in the other poems to create one single solid poem about crying in public in your car and how that makes you feel. If she'd done that, you wouldn't get bored of the subject being repeated so many times throughout the book. She'd have had more room to explore her feelings, create a real solid narrative, and you might actually get something that is worth reading that you as a reader can get something out of. But before we get into that, let's read Tinted. Some people dance like no one's watching. I cry hysterically in my car like no one can see into my window. That's it. That's the whole poem.
What was the entire poem? From the top.
is in the other poems to create one single solid poem about crying in public in your car and how that makes you feel. If she'd done that, you wouldn't get bored of the subject being repeated so many times throughout the book.
Back to the pointless blog book.
A real solid narrative, and you might actually get something that is worth reading that you as a reader can get something out of. But before we get into that, let's read Tinted. Some people dance like no one's watching. I cry hysterically in my car like no one can see into my window. That's it. That's the whole poem.
Again, Gabby Hanna should be James Charles should be charged on a federal level for this being something that people bought, thinking it was a poetry book.
This poem
Could have been an email. Babe, it's barely a tweet.
A huge issue that Gabby has, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my other videos about her, and that we're going to be looking at in a lot more detail at the end of this video, and that is that she commits the biggest sin of creative writing, and that is she tells instead of shows. In any one of her random poems, because she talks a lot about, say, heartbreak, for example, she could show us she's heartbroken by, I don't know, describing, I don't know, say, like, the wobble of her lips as she watches the love of her life walk away. She could write about the pressure in her head as she lies alone in bed at night.
Or she could talk about sleep. Sometimes I need to eat. Or pee. Otherwise I would sleep for eternity.
She could talk about the way she reaches out in bed to feel for him only to be met with a cold bedsheet instead of a warm hand, and, you know, all that good stuff. But instead she just chooses to say something like, you broke my heart, I'm heartbroken now, and leave it at that. I released that video.
Everything Rachel's saying is so surface level, like it's not mean at all. And it's so true.
Yeah. And then, was it the same day? Was it the day after? Was it while the video was scheduled? I don't know the exact timing. I don't know. Basically, I'd made that video, I'd done that video, I'd put it on YouTube, and it had either gone out into the world or it was about to go out into the world because it was scheduled ahead of time. And then Jimmy Snow reached out to me and was like, oh, Gabby is really upset because she thinks you might review her new poetry book and she's just really sensitive right now, blah, blah, can you reconsider posting the review? And I'm like, but she sent me the book. She asked me to review the book. Of course she knows I'm making a video. She asked me to make the video. I'm not going to change how I review it just because she's gone crying to someone about it. And I felt very much...
Also, what a weird thing to send someone a copy of your book and then get someone to message on your behalf being like, she's not in a good place right now. You shouldn't review this right now. It was sent with purpose of a review. Like, did Gabby send it and then go, ooh, actually, on second thought, this book sucks. Like, this is terrible. Like, it's really crazy. You sent it. You expected a review. This is not hashtag gifted. Gabby Hanna sent me this book. Hashtag gifted. I love this poem. Sleep is weak, or whatever the fuck it was. Like, and then to play the card of she's really not doing well right now. You sent it to be reviewed. Rachel took all the time to review it. And I'm sure she's probably fucking bored the entire time.
Like, I've been set up in some way. Like, she'd sent me this book, asked me to review it, and then gone crying to one of, like, well, basically my most popular public friend at the time. She'd gone crying to him being like,
who's Jimmy Snow?
Can you review? I felt like I was set up, and
I know Jimmy Donaldson. Hi, Mr. Beast.
That was the thing. I was like, is it crazy? Like, no one's going to be this...
Thank you, Diva Dream.
Set up something, but at the same time I thought that's what was happening, and I don't know. But I was like, what is going on here? Like, I'm being set up to look like the bad guy. When I'm only doing what she asked, and I didn't know what to do, and the video was already out, and I was like, well, I'm not changing my review. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to lie and say something's good when it's not, and I'm not going to take down the video because people want to see it. I'm not going to lie about my thoughts. I don't know. I didn't know what to do.
Wow. This didn't even need to be a conversation. The book, this is too much. The book was sent. This didn't need to happen. The book was sent, asked for a review, and you're going to give a review. The fact there's this back and forth, I'm not even reading it. I don't need to read it. The book was sent to do a review, and you did the review.
I think I had been a little snarky in the lead up and promotion to the video. Like,
a commentary YouTuber?
Instagram and been like, what is this? Like, why is this happening? And then like, oh, you need to watch my videos to see my full thoughts. And yeah, maybe I could have been a little less snarky in that. But again, none of it was personal to Gabby. And if people like had gone and watched the video, they would have seen that like I wasn't just being snarky for the sake of it. I had genuine criticisms about things and well thought out thoughts and comparisons and stuff like that. So
even if she was just being snarky, that's also okay. Like, she got the book to do what she wants with it and review it however she wants. If she wants to be funny, then she can do that. If she wants to be snarky, she can do that. If she wants to be angry, she can do that. Sad, like, amazing, happy, like, you can do whatever you want.
All this was happening at a time where I didn't have any, like, friends in Leeds. I'd moved here during lockdown. We were only just starting to come out of lockdown, and I was, like, incredibly isolated from everyone. The only person I had was my partner, Johnny, who, as you all know now, was an abusive piece of crap. And he would physically hurt me and be emotionally abusive, and it was a nightmare to live with. And he was all I had. So when Jimmy sent me that text, and I was in, like, panic mode, being like, what is happening here? Why is someone I trusted, like, asking me to essentially lie for this stranger? I was like, what do I even do? So I went to Twitter at the time, and I was like, cut out anything that said the message was from Jimmy, cut out Jimmy's message, and just posted my reply. And I was like, someone's asked me to take down my review of Gabby Hanna's poetry book, or change my review, or something like that. Is my reply, like, I don't know the words I use, it's something like, I was like, is my reply over the top? Is it justified? Am I in the wrong here? I genuinely want to know, am I in the wrong here? Am I overreacting? And most people were like, oh no, like, you're absolutely fine, like, you stick with your review, it's good, like the video, don't worry. I was like, cool, great, okay, fine. Thought that was the end of it. Until Jimmy then chimes in, and he's like, well, I was the one who sent the message. How dare you out me like this? I'm like, well, you just outed yourself, okay? And then he started going on and on and on, and it became this like really public back and forth. Then a whole bunch of other people got in. Gabby Hanna chimed in at one point, I think, but she was just basically sat back watching and laughing because this is what she wanted to happen, this kind of crazy backlash. And I should say, Jimmy asked me to change my review before he'd seen the review. He had no idea what I was saying in it, or what I'd said in it. He was just going off like, well, Gabby thinks it'll be bad, so don't.
I think that's the craziest thing about this as well, that like they don't know what the review is gonna be. They don't know what the review is going to be, and they're already trying to shut it down with this manipulation of Gabby's really not in a great place. I don't think you should do this. You could reconsider. You don't even... This could be the greatest review of all time. This is the best poetry I've actually ever read. Sleep is neat. Oh, I'm blown away. I'm blown away. This is a masterpiece. You know what I mean? It's crazy to shut down a review before it came out because you know it's not going to be great.
Don't make it that. And I don't know. It was very, very complicated. And between me asking what had happened and Jimmy chiming in and being like, this was me, a lot had happened in my day. So this was one of the nights that Johnny had been particularly nasty, and he smashed a bunch of stuff in my flat, thrown a bunch of stuff around. We'd been having a date night, had a bit of wine, and then he'd started an argument, got aggressive, got nasty, broken a bunch of stuff, and he'd stormed off to bed and was not letting me sleep in my own bed. So I stayed up, had another glass of wine, was a big emotional mess, tears everywhere, and then Jimmy started in. And everyone got involved, and at this point I was already emotional, I was very drunk, I was just had no idea what was happening, and I just felt like everyone was attacking me for things they thought I was going to say, and not the things I'd actually said, and I was a mess, the whole thing was a mess, I don't remember most of it, and it was just awful. And I just remember being like, but I haven't done anything wrong. She asked me to review her book, so I reviewed her book. And everyone was like, yeah, but I'm like, no, she asked me to review her book, so I reviewed her book. I'm not going to lie about it. And I don't think people really quite understood that at the time. And I was a drunk mess, and it was the whole thing, and I was being quite incoherent. Creepshow Art decided to get involved, and White Knight for Gabby Hanna. That was an experience. That was the moment for me where I was like, I went back and read her like tweets to me.
This is the craziest video I've ever watched in my entire life. There are so many goddamn names I haven't heard in so long. Creepshow Art? Hello, blast from the past. Hi, how ya doing? Or what does Jeffrey say? How are you? Wait, hi, what does he say? Hi. No, that's not what he says. Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya?
The next day, and also like the private messages she was sending me, and I was like, wow, like she's quite shady, she's quite underhand, not a fan of her. And that's when, even though we've been friendly before, that's when I was like, nope, done. Funnily enough, that's also when she started posting stuff about me on the what was the forum thing she was doing stuff on?
Lolkai.
Lol farm? No, hang on, lolcow, there you go, sorry. Yeah, that was when she started posting stuff about me on this. I was like, oh,
Wow, Creepshow Art mention.
lolcow, I remember, and said that more people need to be doing something, piling on me, counting on.
Creepshow Art was coming for Rachel. Creepshow Art had too much time. Creepshow Art needed a fucking hobby off her computer. Crazy bitch.
Me, I don't know what the term is. Something like, anyway. So that was fun. But I stuck to my guns and I kept the video up and I wasn't taking it down, and I stuck to exactly what I was saying.
I feel like people didn't talk about the Creepshow Art thing enough. Like, that did not blow up enough for me. Like, obviously it was a big topic, but like, that should have been bigger.
And then over time, as more people actually bothered to watch the video, they were like, oh.
Hi, how are ya? Ugh. Now that's gonna be another thing that I keep saying every fucking 2 minutes. Hi, how are ya?
No, this is fine. Yeah, Jimmy was in the wrong, Gabby's in the wrong. This is fine. And then I thought that was kind of the end of it, right? And I went quiet, and I'd actually ended that video of her second book by saying, hey, like, if you guys want a part 2, there's actually some poems in here that I think are quite good. There's one in particular that I think is really good, and I'd like to talk about in more depth, but I think it deserves like a video of its own. So if you'd like to see that, leave a comment. I haven't even touched on the one that I do think is quite good, which is the last one in the book called Tragedy, that has potential, but again, bleh. But I'm going to end this here because my poor pickle is stressing out a little bit, aren't you, baby? And I think she needs a proper cuddle to stop her being so scared of the fireworks. And so that's where I'm going to end this. But for now, thank you for watching. I'm sorry I didn't enjoy this book, but thank you to Gabby for sending it me anyway. I really hope she can actually try and take some of this as the constructive criticism it's intended as, and try and learn and grow and improve and do better. But for now, if you've read this book, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on the poems that we've read today. If you'd like me to do a second video looking at the poems that I haven't even touched on today, because there are so many I still want to talk about, but just haven't had the time. If you would like a second video on this book, please let me know.
Not the thank you to my Patreons.
And I wasn't
Here's the thing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this video, and I can't believe I knew about this topic with Rachel Oates, but I never really knew the full extent of like what was going on, and I knew that Gabby kept bringing it up. If it seems that Rachel Oates' crime is being too nice, because Rachel should have been more brutal with those with the videos of the poetry. This makes me really angry, because I think I really like Rachel, and I say that because I never like to make my mind up on a creator these days. Trust no one. But it's really unfortunate that Gabby started this, and this is how it ended, and ultimately she fucked over Rachel and so many people in the process, and got so many people to turn against Rachel for what? Sending a book, asking to review it, and then being like, oh, actually don't review it because you're not gonna like it. Don't fucking send it. Sleep is neat.
Video anyone's ever made about Gabby Hanna's poetry. And then all that crap happened, and I was like, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot barge pole. Not a chance. I'm just gonna not talk about it, not say a name, not do anything. Also put Jimmy off because I just couldn't trust him. And I put Creepshow off because didn't trust her. Not that we were like friends, we were just friendly. That was
Fuck Creepshow art.
And I thought that was the end of it. I thought, whatever, this is fine. Oh, well, actually no. Words. Why so much happened? Why is life? It was also around this time that people then started to look into Jimmy and found he'd been incredibly inappropriate with a lot of his fans and was just pushing boundaries and not being a very nice person. And there was a whole bunch of stuff. He'd made some videos and he was trying to defend himself and people weren't having it. And then he eventually made like a bit of a non-apology and people weren't having it. And I was just like, I'm just not getting involved. I'm just stepping away from it.
What is it with these damn YouTubers? Are all in fucking creeps? Sorry, the lore here is going fucking crazy.
Yes, as much as I can. There were whole subreddits set up for people trying to talk about him. His channel just, which wasn't nice to see, not at all, because Jimmy spoke about some really important stuff and he called out some really bad people. And so it's never nice to see a channel doing good work tank like that. But at the same time, I didn't know about any of his fan interactions, and it was nice to see him being held accountable for that because what he was doing was incredibly inappropriate. So I have very mixed feelings. I was very conflicted. Plus all the stuff still going on with Johnny, just wrecking my head and my body and my life, and I just everything was wild at that point. So eventually I left Johnny. That was horrible. I tried to leave a few times and it didn't go well, but I eventually did. And then the day that I left, he was threatening to kill me and saying that he was going to be waiting outside my flat when I got home and he'd kill me when I got here. And it was horrible. And then over the next few months, I got more and more threats from him, a lot of death threats, him calling me an effing rat and saying he was going to kill me. And then he was also threatening to release intimate images that he had of me online. And he was like, oh, if I post these, it's going to ruin your career. No one's going to be able to Google you without these coming up and all that horrible, horrible stuff. And then I had to get the police involved. But thankfully, the warning that they gave him scared him off enough to leave me alone. And I finally started to heal. And I was getting better. I was healing. I was sorting my life out.
I want all people like her partner that she just described to face eternal suffering their entire life. I want these people to suffer every day of their life. I want them to live such a life of unhappiness. I want them to be in pain every day. I think anyone that is that fucking evil should live with enormous amounts of pain every day, because how dare you treat anyone like that?
Rebuilding my life. I was finally making these new friends. I've got an amazing group of friends now. They're wonderful. Love them to bits.
And I'm so happy she was able to get herself out of that situation. I'm so glad she's doing better now.
But I was going through all that and trying to find my love of photography again, trying to find my love of art again. I started writing a lot during that time as well, and I was writing my own poetry and really, really enjoying it. And things were going great. I'm trying to think what order things happened in now. So I was asked to perform at Glastonbury, so my poetry at Glastonbury, which was incredible. Glastonbury, those of you who don't know, is the...
Performing poetry at Glastonbury? Glastonbury is a really big festival in the UK. Performing poetry at Glastonbury? I'm... work diva? I didn't know they did that at Glastonbury.
Biggest festival in the UK. It is a huge deal. It's a huge thing. I was on all the small stages. I did Toad Hall and Mandela, but it was such an honour. It was such a wonderful experience. I remember the night we headlined Toad Hall, it was Wednesday night, and people were queuing outside the tent to get in, and I came off that stage after performing and I just cried, just sobbing these happy tears. It was such an incredible achievement, and even just being able to say I performed Glastonbury was a dream come true to me. Not many people get that honour, and it was unbelievable. I think maybe an American equivalent would be, I want to say something like Coachella, I think. I don't know. I don't really know American festivals, but it's that kind of big, it's huge, wonderful, brilliant. So I did that, and then I started working on my first little poetry collection, and there you are, my little baby. Around this time, I also did an interview with...
Somebody say, I'm seeing a lot of people in chat saying this is stemming from jealousy from Gabby. I'm like, do you think it's stemming from jealousy? I'm like, Gabby sending the book is so interesting. It was almost like trying to buy her out in terms of giving a good review. But then I'm like, was it a case of buying right? Was it a case of Gabby thought the poetry was really good? I honestly think it was a case of, if you're going to review this, I would rather it came from me, so therefore you kind of feel a little bit more allegiance to be nicer to me, is what I feel. But I also do think that Gabby would feel threatened by someone who is actually good and understood poetry.
With Poetry Cove magazine, they did a little feature on me. It was an interview, they published some poems. It was wonderful, lovely. The people who run that magazine are so nice, so great. I just love seeing little small independent magazines like promoting smaller poets and artists, and it's great. The work they do is fantastic. But yeah, then around Christmas, I self-published Reflections on Healing, and this is my little baby. Love this. Love it so much. It's a very short collection. It's about 17 poems, but it's also filled with photographs and stuff like that. I painted the cover artwork myself, and I love it. I didn't go for traditional publishing. I didn't even try for that, just because I wanted it to be all me and all just like something I personally worked on and like put together all myself. I wanted to be there for every stage of it, and I love it. I'm very, very happy with it, very proud of it. Some of the poems are still very much early in your career poems, if you know what I mean. Looking back now, I'm like, oh, well, I'd probably change this. I might change this. Oh, here's what I do differently. But there's others I'm still really, really proud of. And what I love about this collection is it really was a part of my healing journey, and writing it really helped me work through a lot of stuff all the way back from my childhood to the present day. So it looks back at what it was like growing up with a dad who was very angry all the time and was aggressive and violent. It looks back at what it was like living with my adult brother, who used to like literally beat me so hard he would leave these swollen handprints on my body, and how having men like that around me gave me the wrong impression and taught me that, well, you know, that's just how men love, isn't it? And how that then affected my relationships as I got older, and how I ended up putting up with a lot of crap from people and a lot of violence from people, and how eventually that's why I just saw the abusive relationship I ended up in as normal, because that's all I've been taught. And then it talks about healing from that, learning what to do differently, and coming out the other side and finally having a little bit more hope, a little bit more control of your life, a lot more bodily autonomy. And it's a real journey. And even though, like I say, it's not perfect, I'm very, very proud of this little collection, and it's one that will always be close to my heart. And it's one that was very healing for me to write, and I hope will be healing for other people to read. The reviews have been unbelievable. People have been so kind, so lovely.
Send Gabby Hanna a copy. I want to see that review.
And it hurt at points when there were people like, oh,
I do think, though, that this does stem from jealousy. I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't read any of Rachel's poetry, but I've read really great things about Rachel's poetry, and I do know that she's very talented. And the response to this book has been really great. So I do think that Gabby continuing to bring her up to this day does very likely stem from just a really big place of feeling insecure compared to her. You know, she obviously made Rachel a target many, many, many years ago, and it's just something that has stuck, and that's really unhealthy for Gabby to live with as well.
I'm going to give this 1 star because you deserve to know how Gabby Hanna feels. I've not read it, but oh, you deserve to have these bad reviews. And I was like, that's just really mean and really cruel, because you're not judging the work on the work. You're just trying to hurt me, and that really upset me. That really did. But there were also a couple of people who gave it like 2 and 3 star reviews where they were like, okay, well, like I didn't like this, and here's what could have been done better. And I found those reviews really, really helpful. And I think some of the critiques, I think the word, some of the critiques I chose to ignore because there were things like, oh, I didn't like the grammar here, I didn't like this here. I'm like, it's Yorkshire dialect. Like, that's what you didn't like, and I'm not going to change that because that's who I am and they're what my roots are. And I purposely wanted to include it because it's about my childhood in Yorkshire. I'm going to use Yorkshire dialect in places, and it doesn't sound grammatically correct to some people. And technically in standard English, it's not grammatically correct, but it's authentic to what my childhood was like. So I was like, I chose to ignore that in particular. Oh, sorry. I'll swear, I'll fix it later. Oh, I'm getting too old to twist around like that. Pull back. But other criticisms I found really, really helpful, and I think I've definitely taken a lot on board when it comes to writing my second collection and my newer poetry. I've made a lot of big improvements, I think, and a lot of that came from the feedback I got from those reviews, and I'm just really, really grateful for it. Big, big help. So, okay, all of that happened. Great, wonderful. My life's going in a good direction. I'm in a good place. I'm healing. Everything's great. And then Gabby Hanna has a mental breakdown. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean factually that is what happened. And as part of it, the very start of it was all focused.
I assume this was the breakdown that we saw on TikTok. I assume this was that breakdown where she was like screaming like, God, Jesus, and then she would be like smoking like 10 joints a day, being like, I'm gonna paint a picture. Remember that one? Amen.
There were a whole bunch of really aggressive Instagram stories that she tagged me in that were just her basically screaming into the camera, calling me an ugly bitch, a stupid bitch, saying I have no accomplishments, I'm not intelligent, I'm not creative, all of which are objective.
Yeah, I think this stems from jealousy. And you people will be like, they're just jealous of you. And like parents, guardians, older people in your life will love to default to, they're just jealous of you. Rachel, I actually do think she is jealous of you.
And it was just thoroughly nasty. It was horrible. She attacked me on a personal level that I have never ever gone to with her. And it all just came out of nowhere. Nothing prompted it. Nothing.
Wow. 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 She's really... Wow. Wow, Gabby's really going crazy on this one. I remember seeing that tweet. Gabby quoted and was like, because no one cares about her unless she's talking about me. And then posted one of Rachel's videos and it was like less views than a Gabby video. And I was like, oh my God, you're such a loser, Gabby. Like, you're such a fucking... Gabby, if she only gets views talking about you, why don't you get good views? Color me that one.
Trying to deny the reason she deleted Twitter, so I actually want to let you know what happened. So we have a mutual friend who messaged her outside of me. I literally did not talk to him at all. He saw that she was doing, and he messaged her, and he said, have some compassion. You've been the center of hate campaigns online. Leave this girl alone. Like, you're just...
You have been the center of hate campaigns online is really quite crazy. I will be honest. You have been the center of hate campaigns online. It's just inaccurate. And this all stems from the fact that you sent a copy of your book for a review and then you were like, oh shit, I don't want to... Oh, please. I remember when she made these videos. Because remember she made one on Angelica too.
Bullying. And then she started a Twitter campaign trying to say that I manipulated her friend into defending me. That's how narcissistic and abusive this is and how much she cannot accept any type of criticism, which is hilarious because
she can't accept criticism? Please.
When the first time her friend confronted her about her shitty toxic behavior, she blamed me, the permanent goat of the fucking internet, and then stopped talking to her friend. Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me.
No, actually, just, again, I have more to add, because there's so many things she's just, like, blatantly lied about and said about me that just isn't true, and I'm looking back now and there's, like, thing where she was tweeting out, it wasn't just Instagram, it was Twitter as well, it was everywhere, and I didn't even have Twitter at this point, because I deleted it for a whole bunch of reasons, half of which was the Jimmy Snow thing, and I just felt it was bad for my mental health, and, like, all of that stuff, but she was like, she deleted her Twitter when people...
Also, Gabby, like, preaches, like, needing to get off social media, but whenever anyone else does it and it's not convenient to her, she'll be like, oh, so you're running from social media, and it's like, you're such a hypocrite.
Calling out on her abusive, manipulative, relentless abuse towards me, you know, like a cowardly loser. That's not why I deleted Twitter. I deleted it because I was sick of this, like, back and forth, and I felt like you couldn't say enough in these, like, 140 characters, and it's like all these, like, misunderstandings were happening, and it wasn't even just that. There was the Jimmy thing, and, like, on the whole, once people saw my video and they realized people were on my side, people weren't calling me out and calling me abusive and manipulative and saying it was relentless. People weren't.
She can't handle criticism. The calls coming from inside the house.
People just being angry all the time, so that was a big thing. There was something else. 1 second. My brain's not working. That was the other thing. So she said that, like, she made out, like, Jimmy confronted me about my poopy, toxic behavior, her words, and I blamed Gabby. That's not what happened. Jimmy didn't call me toxic or abusive, because I wasn't. Jimmy said, Gabby's scared you might make a video on her, and because she's struggling, I think you should go easy on her. That was what happened. It was all about, like, Gabby going and complaining to him, and he said that she'd been upset about it. Apparently, like, he later backtracked. I was like, she didn't say anything. I'm like, but you said that she said she's upset about it.
And I love that in Gabby's video defending herself, she brings up that Jimmy guy who's literally been accused of all this, from what I'm hearing. Really great one to have on your side, Gabby, will be honest. And I know you said you're not talking to him anymore or whatever, but, like, you still used him as a way of defending yourself. Really good. Looking great, girl.
Anyway, like, it's just so much, like, weird misinformation. Like, she's acting like I had all these people being like, oh, you need to, like, you know, calm down. You're going to... No one was saying that to me because I wasn't. I was literally being like, oh, this is a bad metaphor. Here's a better metaphor. I don't know. Anyway, I'm fed up. This all infuriates me. And, like, I also just want to make it clear that, like, I know I made those videos in the first place, but one, never thought Gabby would see them.
And also, it makes me really sad that she's apologizing for these videos because Gabby was the one to blow it up, even though Gabby was actively encouraging it.
No idea. I only realized she saw them after her responding to criticism video, and then after that I stopped responding until she asked me to make a video. Well, she asked me to review her book. She reached out to me and, like, instigated that again. Like, once I knew she saw my videos, I was like, oh, okay, don't want to upset her, better stop, that's fine. Like, reviews are for the reader, not the writer, so I didn't make any more. And then she asked me to make more, so I made another one, and then she went off on me, and then I stopped talking about her, and then she went off on me again, so I was like, let me educate people about parody, and then I stopped talking about it, and then she went off on me again, years later, at the Oxford Union thing, and I've been silent this whole time.
That is crazy. Circling back to Gabby going to Oxford and talking about shit about Rachel literally only a couple months ago. At Oxford!
It's just like, I haven't provoked this, I haven't done anything to deserve this, or, but it's okay, Tubi, I know I'm upset, it's okay, you don't need to cry, it's okay. Like, it's frustrating. I didn't start this. I didn't goad her into doing anything. I didn't provoke anything. I didn't call her names. I didn't get personal. I wasn't abusive or toxic or manipulative. That is all Gabby, and I'm sick of her spreading it the other way around. And her just spreading blatant lies about what happened. Jimmy didn't call me abusive or toxic. Jimmy didn't say something to me because he was sad about my behavior. He hadn't even watched the videos. He hadn't seen a single video. He only said something to me because Gabby said something to him. I didn't burn any books. I didn't do any of the things she's claiming. She just won't stop. And I'm fed up with her. She is a very nasty person, and that's all there is to it. And she doesn't care. She's not sorry about anything. She's not. You okay, baby? I know, I'm sorry.
You know why she hasn't critiqued my work?
Isn't it crazy that Gabby turns on someone who was arguably the nicest to her as well? Like, we saw that video that Rachel called harsh earlier from James, I guess it was. Wow, she really only comes for women.
Because the last couple times she did it, she started getting overwhelming hate from people both on the internet and in her real life. Because people started to see through it. They were like, why are you still going at this girl? Like, endlessly. She can't fucking stop.
Again, you guys don't need me to tell you, this is not what happened. No one told me to do that. I stopped making videos on Gabby because after the whole Jimmy thing, it was too much drama to deal with, and I didn't want to provoke her anymore. I didn't want to upset her anymore. The public, no backlash. The video got a really good response. People loved it. People were on my side. It was fine. She's just inventing these narratives in her head. It's bizarre.
Literally 98.4% of the video got overwhelming likes, and Gabby's like, because you got overwhelming hate, you had to run from it. Actually, that's not the truth. Hello? That's not the truth.
And it's because when she talks about me, she gets hundreds of thousands to millions of views, and then she posts a little makeup get ready with me and gets 4,000.
Okay, Gabby, why don't you get hundreds of thousands and millions of views then? These creators love to be like, without me, you would get no views. When you don't talk about me, you don't get any views. Okay, why is your channel flopping?
Again, I won't deny that a lot of my channel views came from the Gabby Hanna poetry videos, but 66+% of my other views came from all my other content. That's what makes most people subscribe. That's what makes most people come back. People aren't watching my channel for Gabby. They're watching it for me and my views and my opinions, and that's just how it is. Most of my biggest, moments of growth and my biggest years in terms of views were years like last year where I don't think I spoke about her once. Not even a little bit. No.
That's why she cares about my art. She's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her fucking opinion because she has...
Cut to Gabby earlier being like, I understand criticism and I'll always take it. Now her being like, she's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her. Blah, blah. Gabby's the only one that gets personal. God, this is the craziest video. I remember when she made these. I was like, wow, she's lost it.
No accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual.
She has no accomplishments in art. Just because you sold a bunch of copies of a book, Gabby, because you have a built-in audience, does not mean that you're an artist either.
Enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube. Rachel, instead of hopping in my DMs trying to bully and gaslight me from your own abuse, you could just apologize. I know that if I did anything like this, I would be called manipulative, sociopathic, narcissistic, attention-hungry, money-hungry, but that is far. What you did was bully and harass me for months, and then when you got called out of it, got super defensive. You literally just ran away and blocked me instead of looking at your own criticism. You can't take criticism towards yourself at all. I've still never blocked you after all of the harassment. I can't stand even the tiniest ounce of criticism.
Tiniest ounce of criticism?
You're a bitch. Narcissistic abuse is when somebody hurts you over and over and over again over a prolonged period of time, and then whenever you finally stand up for yourself, they say you're having a breakdown. Where the real narcissism comes in is she says I'm talking about her for attention. You mean Miss 4K views on your fucking makeup tutorial? Miss 4K views on your commentary piece a week ago? Yeah, I'm talking about you for attention. You talk about me, you get millions. I talk about you, I get still millions, but not because of you. Then she said attention.
That's not true. But also, it just goes to show how narcissistic she is.
Seeking games as if I've ever responded to her before. This is my first time responding to Rachel.
Well, you sent the book, you lovely woman.
So what are my games? Is this a game, or am I just standing up for myself against the people who harassed, exploited, and profited off of me for almost a year? What is it, you manipulative, narcissistic bitch? And this is where narcissistic abuse happens, is people think that they can say whatever they want about me and that I can't respond. I'm allowed to respond when I want. It took me a long time to heal and get better because there were mountains of happening me from all directions at all times, and I couldn't go up against all of it. But right now, this morning, as people are tweeting about this shit, and it made me think about it, and it made me want to defend myself, I'm going to defend myself. And you don't get to tell me I'm starting drama for finally responding to the months, the multiple videos, the millions of views, the
Isn't it funny that Gabby's saying this, but Rachel hasn't talked about her in ages, but Gabby literally brings Rachel up and takes her one gig at Oxford a couple months ago to talk shit about Rachel? Yeah, Gabby, you're the one that talks about her.
The Instagram post, the fact that you made a book mocking me. You fucking weird ass bitch, you published a book mocking me. Everything I want to say, unless she opens her fucking mouth and says something else, because I just want to let everyone know I don't give a fuck anymore about pretty much anything. I mean, I clearly give a fuck. What I mean is I don't give a fuck what people think about me. So I'm speaking my mind and saying what the fuck I want to say. And when I see harassment, bullying, and abuse, I'm going to stand up for myself the same way I stand up for everybody else. I'm done accepting behavior for myself that I would not accept for my friends. So
God, it must be so exhausting to live like this where you constantly have to victimize yourself. It's like...
and like her fucking mouth again. I think I've said my piece. For now. I guess we'll see. But watch her turn this into a video series. Drama means finally having the strength to stand up against people who have harassed, mocked, exploited, and bullied you for years. Yeah, I'm a fucking drama queen. I love the drama. Rachel Oates, I'm actually not responding out of nowhere. I'm responding because you have 8 to 10 videos about me on your channel. You published a book mocking me. You tried to cause drama between my actual friend and I. You went on Twitter accusing me of manipulating and into standing up against you. What else? Instagram posts, tweets. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it. Now, I was waiting for you to slow down so I could respond to everything at once when I was mentally strong. That doesn't mean I'm having a break. It actually means I'm finally healthy. You fucking sick, twisted bitch. I was done opening my mouth as long as she shut her fucking mouth, and she can't, which is funny because she doesn't want me to respond, and she literally can't help herself from responding even though she's wrong. Anyways, for those of you who don't know, basically what happened was I published a book that was about sexual abuse, childhood trauma, suicidal ideation, mental illness, mortality, amongst other things. It came out, it did great, it was a New York Times bestseller. It sold consistently $40,000 gross every single month for years. And then it was just doing really well. And then as soon as it was trendy to hate me because some person started some random fucking lies about me that nobody cared to look into because I didn't defend myself, then she started a hate campaign about my poetry book because it's so current, right?
I mean, sorry, I'm just trying to take all this in. It's just like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting how she is willing to spin anything into just attacking another woman. It's like, how are you going to make a video being like, I will openly accept every criticism, and then you're now going on like a manic spiral because someone made a video critiquing your book? It's really sad that Rachel had to go through this. And it's not the only person that Gabby has put through this. And that's also really unfortunate.
Really cannot believe that you guys let a woman who doesn't like Bo Burnham tell you that my book wasn't good. This is the biggest compliment that I've ever fucking gotten, that she called both mine and Burnham's work disappointing. She called Bo Burnham's work disappointing. Her. Who is she? Like this, what are you talking about? You let her tell you that my book wasn't good. Get your ass to the store. Both my fucking books. You can get them online too. They're fucking really fucking good. They're really reminiscent of Bo Burnham. They're inspired by him. And
It's like, what the fuck is her aim? Like, I really don't understand her aim.
and others. So yeah, I'm fine.
Oh my god, I remember these ones. Wow, this is a blast from the past.
Speaking my mind. I'm just speaking what I want to from now on. If I see something that triggers I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about it because I deserve to, because it's my own fucking life. And if I want to talk about my life, I'm just going to do that. So thanks for understanding.
She kept saying that she accepts her criticism from talented, smart people, which is apparently why she was fine with James Marriott making vomiting noises about her poetry, but not when an actual educated woman critiques her on a literary level. Make it make sense. She got really, really nasty. I initially tried to respond to her and be like, look, you're clearly going through something. Please go and speak to family and friends who can help you, but don't drag me into this. And
Again, it's really unfortunate because obviously Gabby has, I was going to say a big fan base. Gabby has a fan base. And, when you're doing a post or two and you're really passionate about someone pissing you off, that will send a lot of hate that person's way. But when you multiply that by an entire day dedicated to exposing someone and your only things are calling them narcissistic abuser, a bitch, like all these things. And what's Rachel Oates' biggest crime? Reviewing a poetry book that was sent to her by the author to what? Review it. But only if the review was, fucking licking Gabby's arse.
I said that to her personally. She still kept going. I think I put up a public statement or something on Instagram about it like that in a story, reply. And I was like, what the hell is happening? And she still kept going and going and going and going. And it's, honestly, whenever I see those videos now, I want to cry. They're that nasty. They're that horrible. Actually, there's bits in this I forgot to mention that I'm just going to kind of stick in randomly at the end here. I'm filming this quite after. But there were other bits I forgot to mention, but her weirdly cherry picking my content to push whatever agenda she wanted. So there was a bit where she was like, see, she has no taste. She hates Bo Burnham. And then she took...
You are being dumb. Now go buy my book. It's actually amazing.
My video in which I was like, Bo Burnham's book disappoints me, and just showed the thumbnail. When in the video, I literally talk about how much I love Bo Burnham and how there were some really great poems in the book, but just a few of them fell flat because they were more like performance pieces that just didn't work on the page. It was a mix of good and bad in that video, and then I had another video called Bo Burnham is a Genius, in which I went through some of his lyrics and talked about how good they were and how clever they were, and did a proper in-depth analysis of them. So the cherry picking on her part annoyed me. The weird push to get people angry at me for things that were she was only seeing surface level really annoyed me. And I think at the time she had something like 2 million Instagram followers. And they all started coming to my posts. And I still have some comments on all posts now. I try to block as many people as possible and delete as many comments as possible. There's still some on all posts. But they were all basically telling me to kill myself, that I was a terrible person, that I was hot.
People are like, she was literally just doing her job reviewing the book. But even if she wasn't just a book talk person, she literally got sent the book from the author Do you realize that when people send their books, they're not expecting a roaring review? They're expecting a review. They believe in their book. So if before the review comes out, you're trying to silence the review, you yourself know that the book is not that great at all.
Horrible. And then they started directing Kyra, my dog. And they were saying things like they hope she chokes on chicken bone, they hope she dies, this dog should be put to sleep, oh no, wait, just hit it with a car. Like all these really, really horrible things. And I was just like, you can't speak on my baby like this. She does not deserve it. And then I was getting constant messages of like rape and death threats from it, and it was a lot. It was so overwhelming. I couldn't deal with it. The other thing I forgot to mention that kept happening at the time was a bunch of Gabby's fans were using my public email address I used for work stuff to sign me up for a bunch of porn websites. So I was getting a load of porn stuff sent to my inbox constantly, and it was just completely inappropriate and not okay. It was horrible. Like, I don't want to see that unsolicited. I didn't consent to that. It's, yeah, absolutely not okay. But at the same time, like, it's hard because, like, you want to be angry at Gabby, but at the same time, she's clearly having a mental breakdown. So how angry can you be, really? I don't know.
Again, another excuse of someone taking the heat of Gabby Hanna doing something and having to make excuses for her.
One of the big things she decided to bring up at this point as well is that she didn't like dog lessons. She felt that it was mocking child abuse, which it's not. I'll say that now, it's objectively not. And she didn't like that, and she called me a bully. So I can't remember the order of everything happened. Everything's a bit jumbled. Basically, what happened over the space of like 3 days was I had a crap ton of emails and messages from big online media publications like Insider and Vulture and God knows who else. Like, I don't remember half the names now. Sorry, my tummy's rumbling as well. I'm quite hungry. And they were like, can we interview you? Will you talk to us about this? Can you give us a statement? And I declined every single one, except one of them. I think maybe it was Insider, I can't remember. Where I just said something like, clearly Gabby's going through something right now. I wish the best and hope she's well, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. And I was like, she's clearly having a breakdown. I'm not going to push this further. Give her space. Just let her heal, right? And I didn't do anything. I could have milked it. I absolutely could have. I could have been like, oh, let me get my name in all these online publications and this will do my career wonders. And I didn't. I absolutely didn't, because she was a woman in a mental health crisis who didn't need someone exploiting that. Simple as that. So even though she continued to be absolutely horrifically nasty about me publicly, and, you know, these are things like commenting on my appearance and all this other stuff, like, I didn't push back. I absolutely didn't. And she chose to focus on the weirdest things as well. Like, I think I've spoken about this before. She was like, oh, you get 1 million views when you talk about me, but only 4,000 on your makeup video. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not a makeup channel. I occasionally do like little side videos where it's not my main content, it's not really thought out, and they never did as well. Yeah, so 4,000 views as opposed to my regular tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever. Now I have a second channel for that. But it's just so odd that she chose like the one non-regular content video to try and point out that like, oh, you're irrelevant. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's just not my main content. I don't know. Anyway, bothered me. It's just I wasn't embarrassed that a non-regular content video did badly, because I put them out expecting them to do badly. I just do them for fun, which is why I do them.
But also, Gabby trying to like weaponize that she didn't get that many views on that like video that was completely different content that she was making. It just is like, you prove that you're a really shallow person, that's really all you care about. And I can't believe that Gabby doesn't see that herself, and how it makes you question Gabby as a person when your main argument against someone is, well, you're not popular. Okay, well, then, Gabby, you don't have an argument. Your argument is that someone isn't popular? Okay, really great argument, I guess. I mean, congratulations. I don't know what to say there.
I'm on the second channel now. It was just a weird thing to focus on. I'm still not embarrassed about it. I'm not a makeup channel. People aren't going to regularly watch makeup videos from me. It's just how it is. Like, anyway. She was saying other things like she tried to say I was unintelligent, which is laughable. She tried to say I have no accomplishments, no achievements, which is also laughable. Like, I don't really like to draw comparisons between myself and other women. I don't really like comparisons between myself and other content creators, because I think, ideally, unless it's Mario, we should all be supporting each other, holding each other up where we can, right? And like I say, it's good that we all have different backgrounds.
Wow, she really hates that James guy.
Let's be real. I am more intelligent than her. I have a better education than her. I went to one of the best universities in the world that outranks hers by a lot. I have won prizes for literary criticism. I've won prizes for my art and photography. I've shown my art in local galleries. I'm showing my art at a little farm show this weekend. It's like, I've literally...
Gabby, she low-key clocked your tea. Gabby, get off the floor. You just got clocked.
Performed at Glastonbury. Like, one of the biggest festivals in the world. Gabby was objectively wrong. It's just very odd to see her still pushing this narrative. Like, I don't get it. Does it make her feel better to lie to herself and pretend that I'm stupid? Because I'm not. Objectively, I'm not. I didn't just go to one of the best universities in the UK, but in the world. Like, I don't know.
And me? I didn't even go to one. I went to a film college. You know what that means? I'm not clever.
Anyway. Plus, I'm doing my second degree at the minute, which is fun. Plus, I've had the absolute honour of having people like amazing poets, like legends like Duncan Forbes, reach out to me and be like, hey, love your poetry analysis videos, can I send you some of my books? Wonderful, love that. So, objectively, I know she's wrong. I just don't understand why she's so keen on trying to push this narrative that I'm stupid. I didn't make...
I do think it stems from jealousy.
Not that Gabby's not stupid. Gabby's an intelligent woman. I just think she's maybe intimidated by women who are more intelligent than her, you know? I don't know. So where were we? That happened. What else happened? Oh,
I think she wanted Rachel so badly to like her.
if the parody book...
And then when Rachel didn't, she was turned on her.
Understandable. I'm not going to take back any of my literary criticisms or anything like that. I stand by all of them completely. But you know what? If she thinks the parody book is too far, I will absolutely apologise for that. And I apologise for it. I changed the name of the video and I will read this out to you if I can. Okay, I wrote, hey, I've been doing a lot of thinking over last month and I decided to change the title of this video. I wanted to give time... Hang on, I'm not wearing my glasses, I can't see a thing. There we go. I wanted to give this time to actually think things that's poorly written by me. What was I doing? And not just be my usual emotional reactionary self. When I first saw the Instagram post, Gabby tagged me and I was emotional and upset and reactionary, and I'm not very good at interacting with people anyway, so I stopped responding and have been trying to be more calm and considered in my responses, which has been a learning experience for me. It's not always worked. I've still been a little snappy and upset at times, but I'm continuing to work on it. When I first made this video, I was completely indifferent to Gabby as a person. I was frustrated by her poetry, but had genuinely no positive or negative feelings for Gabby one way or another, and therefore I felt making a joke about my dog being a better poet than her was all in good fun. I even asked you.
I can't believe the dog poetry was blown up the way it was. Oh my god, let people have fun.
So that's one lesson learned.
It's literally just dog fucking poetry, like, and it also went to charity.
Hearted, so I'd only continue to use it as a title. Sorry, I should clarify. The video was called My Dog Writes Better Poetry Than Gabby Hanna. I changed it to simply My Dog Writes Parody Poetry.
The first title wasn't bad. Oh my god, I can't believe she had to face criticism for this. People are so dumb.
Said, I still fully stand by all the content and the titling of my original 3 reviews and the in-depth review of Cooked. That's another video I made. Basically, Gabby did a poem mocking self-harm, and I was like, I analysed it, basically, well, no, I made a video about intent versus, oh my god, my brain's not working, words are not coming out, there's so much crap here. I did a video about intention versus outcome in art and creativity and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a good conversation, I like that.
Marshall McLuhan and stuff like that, and one of the examples I used in that was about Gabby's poem Cooked, making fun of self-harm, and how, even though she maybe didn't have bad intentions there, it still caused harm and upset, especially in those of us who, like myself, who do struggle with self-harm. That was, anyway. So blah, blah, I still stand by all that in the response to Gabby's response to criticism. I also fully stand by the review of Dandelion, which Gabby sent me her book so I would make. Why was I... Well, I know why I was writing so I was emotional, but still, write better, that's me.
Tyron said, not her feeling creatively threatened by Rachel's dog. Hi, Minlay.
I stand by the amount of videos I made, especially over the period of a year or more, as is completely usual for the kinds of in-depth reviews I do. I also think the response to my parody poetry book came from a place of ignorance. If she'd read the book, she'd know it's not making fun of child abuse, and I don't think that's fair of her to say. At the time when I wrote the book, nothing explicitly said or even subtly implied that her book, Adult Lessons, was entirely written from the perspective of an abused child, and so by writing my book from Kyra's perspective, I was in no way mocking that. I still stand by... Well, no, we'll get to that in a second, sorry. However...
Yeah, Gabby gets mad at parody, but then hides behind parody. You can't get mad at it and then also hide behind the fact that you get criticism by being like, well, my book's parody as well.
All that said, and this is the main point, I am sorry for hurting Gabby's feelings.
Not only just a parody, but a dog parody. No, you're so right.
Fully apologised. I want to say I'm still upset by how she misrepresented a lot of my actions, and so I won't apologise for the things I didn't do. However, I fully understand why the act of writing this book all hurt her feelings, and for that, I am sorry. I still love this video because it was a lovely bonding experience with Kyra, and I still love the book we created because it's a lovely little representation of her life and our relationship, and I love the fact we raised money for Battersea Dogs and Cats Home through its sales. But I am sorry that I wasn't more considerate towards Gabby's feelings in my execution, and I am sorry for that, regardless of my intentions, I hurt her feelings. That's how you apologise, Gabby. Just saying that now. Oh, so frustrated. So... What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, the other thing was when Gabby did her whole Instagram rant thing, one of the big things she kept saying was that I, in Dog Lessons, was mocking child abuse because she decided retroactively to tell us all that Adult Lessons was written entirely from the perspective of an abused child, and that's why every single poem is from the perspective of an abused child. So if you critique the poems, you're critiquing an abused child. If you parody the poems, you're parodying an abused child and making fun of child abuse. That is just not true. Some of those poems may have that perspective, absolutely fine and valid, but the...
Also, what a way to hide behind any form of criticism. What the goddamn fuck? Saying that it's written from the perspective of an abused child, so if you criticize the book, even just from a English standpoint, English literature, oh, you're making fun of abused children. What are we doing? Hello?
Entire book doesn't. You can't have these stupid poems about, oh, this is just filler because my editor asked for 10 more pages.
This poem is crazy. Some of these poems were written because inspiration struck. Others were written because I have a deadline and needed to fill pages. She needs to be charged on a criminal level for these.
You can't write that and be like, it's from the perspective of an abused child. No, it's from the perspective of a lazy adult who just wanted more money. So, I was simply parodying the individual poems. In response to this, I released a Google document which went through every single poem in my book, Dog Lessons, and I showed the exact poem in Gabby's book that it was inspired by, and I did a side-by-side comparison, and I wrote a little analysis to say, this is the inspiration I took from this is what me and Kyra did together, this is what it all means, therefore, you can clearly see none of this is mocking child abuse, and you can read it yourself, like it's not, it's just absolutely not, it's a ridiculous claim to make.
I went through this in the moment. It was a false claim from Gabby, and it was a really, really, really defamatory thing to say. Really defamatory thing to say. So I'm Team Rachel on this one, if I'm being honest. I remember this from back in the moment, and I was like, what the fuck is Gabby talking about? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not reading this. This video is long enough. Proving that Rachel calling her lazy is a genuine critique and not a personal attack. Not that anyone thought it was, except for Gabby. Literally. To send someone your art and then get pissed and catty because they critique it like you knew they would. The delusion. Guys, I have a confession. I bought the book in middle school and I loved it. Well, you're in middle school. Obviously.
I am still sorry for hurting Gabby's feelings, but I also think her hurt comes from a place of ignorance and misunderstanding. And the fact
Alexa Nicholas's husband, Michael, his ears are perking up at the mention of defamation. He hears defamatory and goes, "This is my cue."
hadn't read my book, and she probably still hasn't, and I don't think she really understands what parody is. A few people were confused, and that's why I released a video called Parody, Cruel... Oh god, sorry, I'm just hitting the microphone. I released a video called Parody, Cruel or Creative, and it looked back at the history of parody.
Shout out to Michael if you're in the chat. We love you.
Thousands of years, and also put my own experiences in there as well. And I was like, well, if drama is going to be made from this, I'm going to do what I always do and turn it into a learning moment and educate people about literary theory. And the thing is, while it would be very easy for me to just sit here and say, oh, well, you know, clearly that's a load of crap. She clearly didn't actually read my book, and that's why she's making all these...
I love this dog.
...claims and accusations and stuff. And honestly, that would probably be enough. That's not what I want to do, because I don't just want this to turn into like a back and forth, he said, she said, or in this case, like she said, kind of drama thing. I actually think there's a really good opportunity here to turn this into like a teaching moment and an educational moment, and talk a little bit about parody and try and educate people about parody and the history of it and the purpose of it and why I personally think it's a really legitimate art form. So despite her claims, my book, Adolescence, which some of you may have heard of, some of you have read, it was in no way a mockery of Gabby as a person or the subject matter of her book, Adolescence.
It's really, really, really unfortunate that Gabby blew this up, but again, Gabby has a tendency, or had a tendency, whatever you want to say. I want to say has, because she literally was still shit-talking Rachel as of recently, to like blow situations up that have to do with like women and make them the villain and like try to get people to pick sides, and it always just comes across as catty and lazy.
Was purely a parody of her writing style and a critique of her writing style. And I've seen like a lot of people over the last couple of months, like, you know, commentary channels and people leaving comments and people on social media and stuff, kind of talking about how, oh, making a parody was too mean, it was going too far, it was really petty. And I mean, like, I understand why they say that, and I do think they're entitled to that opinion. I'm not going to sit here and say they can't say that, but I am going to refute it. And again, while I understand that Gabby might have been upset by the idea of someone parodying her writing style, and that's why I think she's upset by the idea, because it's very clear to me that she didn't read my book.
But also, Gabby has been so open about the idea of parody, so, like, she should be accepting that people will do it to her as well, because she's claimed that she's done it on her own goddamn poetry books.
She wasn't upset about the book itself, but about the idea of the book, the concept of the book. And again, I can understand why she'd be upset by that, which is why I did apologise for it.
That dog is going crazy in the back.
Hence why I want to kind of educate a little bit about the topic of parody in general, not just in regards to me, but in regards to all art and literature. Parody is an art form in itself, which has historically been a major component of literary and art criticism for about as long as we have records for. In order to parody in the first place, you need a thorough understanding of your subject, typical genre conventions, and what exactly it is you're trying to say with your work. It's not just as simple as I'm going to mock something. A lot more goes into it than that, and I don't think people realise. It's absolutely in the last few months become apparent to me that, at least in the YouTube world, and amongst those unfamiliar with and uneducated in literary criticism, like Gabby, for example, it's become very apparent to me that the concept of parody is grossly misunderstood, and I do think that's a huge shame. I think many get it mixed up with satire or irony or pastiche or burlesque even, or travesty or any number of things. They're all very similar, they're all kind of related, but they are all different. And I think some people get them mixed up, and that's okay. That's why we have videos like this that inform.
Having discussion.
Few months, there is a misconception that to parody something just means to outright mock someone or something for the sake of it, which honestly could not be further from the truth. Most people trace it back at least all the way to ancient Greece. Aristotle was one of the first people to use the phrase parodia in his work Poetics. He used it to describe a very specific type of literary form, which Simon Dente, who is one of the big writers on the topic of parody, and I can be referring back to his work a hell of a lot in this video, and he describes Aristotle's use of the word parodia as a narrative poem of moderate length in the meter and vocabulary of epic poems, but treating a light, satirical, or mock hero subject. So basically, parodia was originally a very specific type.
Obviously, I appreciate like having conversations about it, but like, can we all agree on the fact that like you cannot hide behind something and then get pissed or accuse other people of doing the thing that you've said that you do, which is this parody thing?
a parody of epic poems, to put it in plain English. The same word was also used in ancient Greek in slightly other contexts, so at the time it was also used to describe the act of quoting and alluding to previous texts, not necessarily in a funny or mocking way, but just in general. But in terms of what we know parody to be today, its roots were in the whole parodia that Aristotle spoke about. This root word evolved over time until we began to refer to more and more pieces of art and writing as parodies rather than parodia. A few more examples for you. So in the 14th century, Chaucer wrote Sir Thomas's Tale as part of the Canterbury Tales to parody great romances with knights and quests and the whole chivalrous fighting and quests and stuff. This is me holding a sword, apparently. I don't quite know what I'm doing here. That was a thing I was going for. Anyway, but some believe that Sir Thomas's Tale is a parody of Chaucer's own story, The Knight's Tale, which shows an incredible amount of self-awareness and a willingness to grow and learn and kind of, poke fun at your own work as well. And this kind of self-reflection and self-parody, kind of put a pin in this and remember it because we're going to speak a little bit more about it right at the end of this video and why that kind of self-reflection on your own work and that kind of willingness for your own work to be parodied is very important. We're going to come back to that. In a similar vein, in the early 1600s, Miguel de Cervantes wrote, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, wrote Don Quixote, which has gone on to supersede the popularity of the traditional Spanish chivalrous romance novels it was parodying in the first place. There's too many S's in here for me to say it properly. I struggle so much. And that's what I did. And that, I believe, is the last thing I said on the matter. I think. Gabby went quiet for a long time. That was great. After another mental breakdown, she just left the internet completely.
That was great. Gabby went quiet for a bit. Bliss. Babe, I agree with you.
And I was like, damn, this is kind of amazing. This is great. Like, she seemed to be off doing her own thing, teaching at some gym or dance studio or something like that. And I was like, good for her. Absolutely good for her. I tried not to mention her at all for years until I was like, you know what? It seems like she's finally in a really good place and she's learned. I'm going to praise her for this. And I'm actually just going to try and put the clip in, I think, from the original video if I post this. But I said something along the lines of, like, I was talking about, like, learning and growing and forgiveness in people and seeing all of that. And God, it's such a stupid, naive video. I said something in that video about, like, take Gabby Hanna, like, I don't personally need an apology from her because it seems like she's really grown and learned and blah, 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 and I forgive her and it's so great to see. And this concept of needing an apology to forgive someone is a complex one, and I can't speak for everyone, Some people need an apology from someone to be able to forgive them and move on. Some people don't. Sometimes just seeing that someone has changed and grown without a verbal apology is enough. For some people, seeing someone's actions is essentially more of an apology than a verbal one could be. For some people, a verbal apology doesn't really mean anything at all because, without seeing actions, what does it even mean? It could be fake. So I think there's a way to see that people have grown and learned and changed and recognize they've done wrong and want to do better without necessarily hearing the words, I'm so sorry, from their mouths, I feel like, just personally, I'm at a point now where I'm kind of just done being angry with people, and, like, I find it a bit draining. Not everyone. There's some people who, like, for their behaviour towards me, I would absolutely want an apology, and I kind of feel it's necessary at this point for healing. But in other examples, I'm just kind of, like, past it. Remember the whole Gabby Hanna drama a couple of years ago when she went on this Instagram rant calling me, like, an ugly bitch with no talent, no intelligence, blah, 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 and then me and my dog got all those, like, death threats. Like, my dog got death threats from Gabby. Insane. I was angry at that for quite a while, for understandable reasons, mostly because I went after Kyra and I'm super protective of her. Whereas now, a few years have passed, and I'm like, you know what, it's fine. She was going through some stuff, she kind of took it out on me, she was clearly unwell, and now she's doing better, and she's clearly got away from whatever was messing her up, sorted her head out, and it looks like she's doing really well for herself. So, at this point, I feel like, I'm kind of past it. I've forgiven Gabby. I don't need her to give me any kind of, like, verbal apology, because I can see her behaviour towards me has changed, so that's fine, I can move on, I understand that way of thinking isn't how everyone else is going to heal and move on from stuff, I think if you personally need an apology for something that has happened, or that you've seen happen, or that's happened against you, then that's absolutely fair, and you're more than entitled to ask for that, and need that, and whatever. But if you don't, I think that's okay too. And I completely believe that at the time, up until a month later, when she goes and speaks at Oxford Student Uni.
Also, people are allowed to change their minds, but literally, there was a time period over the last couple months, maybe last year, that Gabby did not talk about Rachel, and she just brought her up again at Oxford. So Rachel has every right to completely change her mind, even if she just said that on a YouTube video, because Gabby started this again.
And it's this, like, student-run club, essentially. And it's a student-run club at Oxford Uni. So it's not, it's kind of associated with the uni. It's not really. I think a lot of Americans are confused by that. It's a student-run club. It's run by, like, 18-year-olds, yeah? So, they get some great guests. They absolutely do. But also, it's not the university itself. Does that make sense? So, where was I even going with this?
Gag. She said Oxford didn't want her. She's with the students, and the students wanted her.
Yeah, she just, out of nowhere, brought me up again, and admittedly not by name, I will say that. I found this out through Fat Sajak's video. I'm just going to say that. I love Fat Sajak. Great content, very funny. Love it. She's, like, my source of YouTube gossip. So she's how I found out about this. And, where am I going with this? Why is my brain not working today? Yeah, so Gabby brought me up out of nowhere, and again, started going on about how I'm not talented, I'm not creative, I'm stupid, and just calling me a bunch of names. And I was like, God's sake. So I did comment on that video and said something like, this is really disappointing to see. Just last month I was praising her, and now this.
And was that kind of hard when it must be a very personal thing, right, to put poetry out? Some of it was quite personal, right?
Yeah, the thing with me with that was just, like, the first 2 or 3 years it was out, like, everybody was just, like, really digging it, and it was fine, but then it just kind of became trendy to use my name, and then, like, one girl went viral who, like, the actual critiques don't bother me that much because, like, this gonna sound so bitchy, but whatever, like, you have to be careful who you take your opinion from. Like, you can say, like, you don't like my book, or you can, like, critique my literary style or whatever it is, but, like, I don't think you're interesting or intelligent or creative or artistic, so why the hell would I take...
God, this was so bad. her being like, well, why would I listen to you anyway? I don't find you artistic. But I thought you said you take criticism.
Your opinion, you're a loser. Sorry, like your opinion's nothing to me. So like that didn't bother me. It just got like kind of like boring. Yeah. When people were just like you're burning.
People coughing and laughing in the crowd.
You're just like it's old. But at the same time, like it did make me better. It did, because like when everybody's critiquing you, like I will always.
How bad were you if this has made you? Is this you better? Gee, how bad were you?
Like I am not that girl. Like I want to know. I send my stuff to all my friends. Like I'm posting something. I've sent it to 20 people already. You know what I mean? I want you to tell me the truth, because like, there's a lot of people watching. But anytime people try to bring you down, like if you're like
yeah, you send it, and then you force them to have to say good things. You sent it to Rachel. She didn't do what you wanted to, and then you turned against her. Why did you send the book to review if she's not someone you respected the opinion of, or she's only the person that you wouldn't respect the opinion of whenever she's not up your ass? Dumb.
like talented person, you're gonna become better because of it. So like they made me more talented, and let's go.
You talked about hate and you and I guess I'm just where do you line between constructive criticism and hate and
Well, first of all, who are you? Like that's my first thing always. It's just like, why are you critiquing me? Like you don't have any accolades or skills or desire.
But you sent your book to Rachel. You sent your book.
Traits in which I would want to consume your criticism. Like it doesn't make sense. That's my first thing. So that's like hate. Like if you're coming from a place of like, I read a poem once. Like, you know what I mean? You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. You know what I mean? So that's my one. Like you're just a hater. Like you're jealous. Like whatever. But then the other one is just like, are you being
me to people that criticize me? You're just a hater. You're jealous. Someone said, not all Christians are like her. Please don't judge us all. I promise I won't grip you all in with Gabby Hanna.
genuinely constructive, or are you being mean? Because a constructive criticism never comes with an insult. It never comes with a jab. It doesn't come with like bullying or belittling or trying to be like a funny mean girl. Like that's not constructive. Constructive means I'm trying to build you up. It's construction. You're building somebody. If you're tearing somebody down, that's destructive criticism. So that's my line. It's like if you're genuinely being, first of all, well informed, like that's where I come back. Like shut your mouth if you don't know what you're talking about. Like not everybody's a critic, but everybody's a critic, right? Yeah. Like are you qualified to make this criticism? And is it coming from a place of kindness and genuinely wanting to see this person succeed, or is it fun for you to tear this person down? And usually you can tell when you watch something.
Because I'm sick of it. Like all this about, oh, you know, it's great to see she's done so well. I forgive her. I don't. No, all gone. Take it all back. She's a horrible person, still doing horrible things, and I don't forgive her. I'm not. No. And of course, with that comment came like another little influx of nasty comments from her fans, and them calling me all kinds of names and stuff. And in this interview, she also made a comment about like me burning her book. Saying like, oh, you know, you bought the book in 2017 and now you're burning it in 2019. And from that, people ran with it, and they now think that I bought a physical copy of her book, kept it for years, and then physically burnt it for a YouTube video.
Which isn't even true.
It's now floating around online, and I'm getting people saying to me, how could you do that? It's so childish. I'm like, I didn't do it. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I've never had a physical copy of her book. In 2019, I borrowed the ebook.
What I'm saying is, someone said, so Gabby's qualified to tear down Rachel?
From a library, returned it. I've never burnt a book in my life. Gabby Hanna's or otherwise. I think I still have Dandelion in my cupboard. Give me 1 second. Wait, look there. It's still here. It's not burnt. I never had a physical copy of Adult Lessons.
Give us a read of a couple other poems.
I don't know. Okay.
Go on. Are you tempted?
I've never burnt a book. So, it was also at this point people started sending me messages saying that like I was nasty to Gabby, I was calling her names, I'd done all of this stuff, blah, blah, my review was so personal, and I was like, am I misremembering? Like, am I actually like a really terrible person? And they started telling me that I'd done all this stuff to her and said all this stuff to her, and I was like, I have no memory of this, and I thought I was going crazy. I genuinely thought I was going crazy, which is why I went back and watched my first video again, and the other videos. I was like, this didn't happen. These things that Gabby's saying I did, and these things that other people are saying I did, literally did not happen. I thought I was going to.
It's really weird as well how people will say things on the internet so bravely, knowing that the actual truth is on the internet and they can't be clocked. Sure, most people are just going to take someone saying something at face value and they're not going to look to see if it's true or whatever. But once one person does and exposes it, you're fucked. Like, how are you going to bravely talk shit about things you can easily be proven wrong on?
I genuinely thought I was going to say.
Sleep is neat.
But yeah, so that's all just been spread online that is like complete misinformation. And I was like, okay, you know what? I said my piece. I said it was disappointing, but I'm not going to dwell on it anymore. And then Gabby just keeps going. She just keeps going, disappointing us. Now, not only is she saying that stuff about me and whatever, now she's in her Christian era, which fine, good for her, whatever. Except the fact she's being a misogynistic.
Not the Christian era. Amen. Can I get an amen? Hi from Brazil. Loved your postcard. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sending the P.O. box.
Horrible person to women. Again, found this out through Fat Sajak. Gabby released a video basically shaming women and like pushing purity culture and this whole modesty culture and all this nonsense, and saying that women can't wear this, and this in case they tempt other people's husbands. It's sexist nonsense. It's the exact crap that I call people like Girl Define and Paul and Morgan out for. It's shaming women for merely existing. It's sexualizing women for merely having bodies and existing, and it's not okay. This narrative that she's pushing on in her current content is misogynistic and it's harmful. And I'm tired of staying silent about it because Gabby Hanna is pushing misogyny. She is God's sake. she's promoting misogyny and wrapping it all up in a, I'm just a really Christian, and like acting like it's a good thing what she's doing, when really she's setting feminism back by several decades.
I came across a TikTok of pure hypocrisy yesterday, and it lit a fire under my ass in the weirdest way. So let's talk about it. First, let's watch the TikTok in question.
At what point do we as a people recognize and acknowledge and fight against the absolute degeneracy that is our generation?
Not this TikTok being, I'm done with Megan Thee Stallion, I hope you are too. I didn't even see this. But then again, I'm not on Christian TikTok, Christian talk, if you will.
Megan, I am so disappointed in you. I had so much hope. Oh, instead she's a porn star. This is literally porn. This is hentai porn, which is animated porn. This was on the cover of Spotify, Apple Music. This was how it was promoted on Twitter.
It doesn't look like anime. But maybe I'm just not as well versed in hentai.
This is cum. This is literal cum on Meg Thee Stallion's face in full BDSM gear. And we're just like...
Gabby, please. There's only one person being vulgar right now, and it seems to be you.
It's cool. Like, no, this is not okay. I'm seeing these ads for these sticky boobs, and honestly, they look amazing. And my body's up. But in seeing all these ads, I'm seeing a lot of women's boobs, a lot of teenagers on TikTok.
I can't verify the validity of that because I'm not gonna go looking by any stretch. But if that's the case, that's weird. I'll give her that.
Like boobs, bro. Like scooping your boobs, like placing the cup, pushing your boobs up together, nipple piercing. And it got me thinking about like sexual liberation and like women's desire to like show their bodies in public so that they're not oppressed, right?
Well, I don't know that it's so they're not oppressed. I feel like some women love the way they look and like to show off their bodies. I don't think it's necessarily directly opposing oppression as much as it is women being able to do whatever they want.
And I saw somebody comment, it was one specifically about a nipple piercing.
And it's so unfortunate. This is my first time seeing these clips, actually. I'm just trying to process them. As a woman, to take down other women for freely expressing themselves when for so long women were exploited and they didn't have consent whether or not they could show off their bodies, and women doing what they want with their bodies now is such a great thing that they have the choice to, and they should be uplifted whatever they want to do. And the fact that Gabby is choosing to bring them down and hiding behind the Christian amen, go fuck yourself, lame loser.
The girl was like, am I the only person who has no shame in people saying my nipple piercing? The girl's like, no, I don't have shame either, but sometimes I want to cover my nipple piercing. Ooh, controversial. It's okay to feel shame. Let's bring back shame. Because here's the thing, is it's literally not all about us. It's not all about us. Like, if I want to go out and I have, like, half naked, because it's about me, like, I want to feel good, like, whatever, I worked for my body, I want to show off, nobody's gonna shame me into covering up. I wish more people would have shamed me into covering up, and there have been a couple people who shamed me into covering up, and now I cover up more. I'm not a prude. I still wear shorts, tank tops, bodysuits, but, like, when it comes to how much boob am I willing to show in public, that really changed, because I was like, oh, there's children. Yeah, there's children. And especially when you're on the internet, there's children. And it's like, bro, like, even though I don't have an audience of children.
You literally do and always have, but okay.
It's like walking in public half naked, right? And it's like, hey, there's children. Like, not everybody needs to see your ass crack. Not everybody needs to see the borderline of your...
I would argue that most people who paid for her Patreon were probably using parents' credit cards. She's always had a child audience, and she's rewriting history right now. And a lot of what comes from Gabby Hanna just screams misogyny and hating women.
It's okay to cover up and dress decently for the sake of other people's children.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I do not disagree with that point at all. I just find it a little rich coming from this mouth.
And yes, like, for the sake of other people's husbands too, right?
Get the fuck out of here. I don't care about other people's husbands.
What? Oh my God! I cannot believe she just said that. For the sake of other people's husbands. No way she just said that. To cover up. Oh my God, you little pick-me. You little pick-me. Can I get an amen? Oh my God, brutal. Wow, this is what Gabby Hanna is these days. Brutal.
Husbands. It's like, well, if that's somebody's husband and their eyes are wandering, it's okay to just be respectful. And that's something that I've been like learning as I'm like growing.
Wow. So she just said if you know, people's husbands' eyes are wandering. So no criticism to the man. Basically, women have to, if you don't want to get stared at, cover up, is exactly what Gabby's saying there. What a loser.
It's like, this is growing up, is learning that it's okay to just be respectful and mindful of other people's space, property, relationships. And that does mean flaunting your body in front of other people's husbands. Because here's the thing, we know that people have sexual urges. We know that people have a low sense of self-control. We know that.
Right. That still doesn't make it our responsibility to keep them in check.
So why do we have to make it harder for everybody else? This goes for the gym too. Like, I remember there was this video of this guy being like, girls, like, please stop dressing naked in the gym because I want to go work out and I'm not comfortable being around mostly naked women. And everybody's like, sexist, men can't control ourselves. This is why we have to be afraid of men. No, like, if a woman comes into a gym completely...
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Men who mainly work out in the gym, by the way, shirtless and with shorts like this.
almost naked, right? I have my little sports bra, I have my little shorts that are pulled up and they're literally in my ass crack now because that's the style, because I like the way it looks when my shorts are on my ass crack, and I pull them up before I squat because I want people to see my body. Like, you are being disrespectful. And as women, I feel like we have to have that same type of respect for other women, for men, and for ourselves. Just be like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to show off all the time. I'm speaking to myself, right? Like, I'm such a show off. I've always loved showing off. It's my least favorite trait about myself. It's pride too, right? It's pride, it's insecurity. Like, look at me, like everything that you think is bad and you hate about me, like instead pay attention to this good thing about me. I get showing off, and that's why I'm just like sharing this part of, I guess, just a transformation where I feel differently and I see things differently.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. For you. Okay. That's good change. That's good evolution. We love
Such a great point. If that works for you, Gab, you want to do that with your life? Brilliant. Why are you taking it upon yourself to shame someone who wants to do the opposite?
to see it. But like, I think the point at which we are coming from on this is a little bit, could use a little bit of work.
Where it's like, we don't have to feel like we're being attacked when people are like, cover up a little bit. And it's not even attractive. Like, that's something that like my eyes have been open to, is like when older women would be like, you know, oh my gosh, like these girls with their short shorts and like their boobs out. I'm like, I don't get it. Now that I'm like 33, I'm like, it looks so trashy to have your boobs out like that. Like,
You know what's trashy though is judging other women based on how they look though. Like, that's a little bit more trashy in my opinion. Like, you can say that something's not for you anymore without insulting the people who it is for.
you can have just like natural kind of like resting boobs. Like, I'm not saying wear up to here, like go ahead, wear your low top, like wear whatever. But like, if you're wearing that low top, do you need to take your boob, stuff it, fill it, and push it? I'm not trying to shame or hate anybody.
You literally just spent this entire video.
I'm not trying to hate or shame anybody. Gabby, quick, what was this video? What was this video successfully doing? Quick, tell me immediately. Wow, God, I can't believe I haven't seen these clip. Can't believe I haven't seen this clip.
Shaming women for dressing like whores. You literally just did that.
She is policing what women do with their bodies, what women wear with their bodies, and shaming women who aren't exactly like her, and that's not okay. So that happened. And now we get to what has prompted this whole rant and my emotions and my feelings and my anger and upset and disappointment. And that is that, like, yesterday, Gabby posted this video being like, an apology to everyone. Gabby, hanna, apology, whatever. And it is the worst video I've ever seen. It is not an apology. Gabby takes no accountability. Gabby never acknowledges what she's done. And Gabby never gives a genuine apology.
And as I've reflected on the past 10 years of my life, my career at large, I feel like I owe a lot of people apologies. So I wrote some notes. I have a list. Okay, so the first bunch of people that I'd like to say thank you and I'm sorry to is anyone I've ever worked with, from collaborators, producers, management, agents, anyone from PA on set to director, special. I'm sorry, it goes out to MTV and YouTube Originals, because I was difficult to work with. I took a lot of opportunities that I didn't deserve and also had no business doing. This apology covers a wide breadth of people. So like I said, if you've ever worked with me or had an interaction with me at some type of work event and you were unhappy or felt hurt in some way, I'm very sorry. And thank you for the opportunities that I've been given and the patience and grace that I've been shown that I definitely didn't deserve, and the professionalism. Also want to say sorry to anybody who feels like I used them or took advantage of them in any type of collaboration or work setting as well. Whether you helped me out with a project and didn't get your proper flowers or didn't pay you well or at all. A lot of times there was just like a collaboration basis, and I feel like I could have done better with hyping up people that I've worked with. It helped me out. Literally reading my notes, I was selfish, only cared about how I could benefit. Thank you. And I'm sorry. I got my lick back. I also want to say thank you and I'm sorry to all of my friends, past, present, who I dumped so much negativity on. I was such a dark cloud. Also in that vein, gossip, I want to say,
Hi, SM.
whether I've spoken out of turn, behind your back, shared information that wasn't mine to share, I'm sorry. Again, I got my lick back, and this was a big, big lesson for me in general about speaking about somebody when they're not in the room in a negative way or in a way that is overstepping personal boundaries. So that's a big one for me. I feel like I owe that apology to a lot of people from literally my whole life, and especially in my entertainment career. So sorry about that. I genuinely have learned and grown in that area.
This is definitely what I do think is happening. I do think she's trying to like grift to a new audience. I like trying to pander to a new audience, and I guess that comes with shading women. So I guess we can see, or shaming women, well, shading them too. So I guess she's pandering to that now. Great.
And I'm still, to this day, it's really hard not to. Oh, I also want to say sorry to anybody who was a subject of a storytime video, and God humbled me and taught me empathy in that area. So I'm genuinely, wholeheartedly sorry for what I put you through. It was probably really, really difficult and traumatizing. So I feel you, and I'm sorry. I also want to take this time to say I'm sorry to my family, or just in general people at home. I also have to give the biggest, most, like, how could I ever find the words? To all my fans, anybody who ever supported me for so many things, being inconsistent, for worrying you, for breaking promises, for being a bad role model, first and foremost, honestly, like from the beginning of my career to the end. Like, right now I'm deleting so much content. I'm deleting a lot of my music. I took a lot of it down. It was either because of profanity, subject matter, or just like immodesty. Like, I'm embarrassed watching a lot of those videos, and ignoring even like people telling me that I should like cover up more and stuff. Like, I wish I would have, because now here I am, 33 years old, embarrassed and having to delete a lot of work and effort that I put into a project, but no regrets. I learned a lot. I'm so sorry for all of the just poor behavior, reckless behavior, self-centered, vain, prideful, just meaningless content and yeah, I'm gonna do everything I can to counteract that. I have a sort of constant
And this is counteracting it. Those TikTok shaming women are counteracting it.
in the woods, and knowing that I've been given a great responsibility that I already fumbled and misused, and needing to use that responsibility more wisely. So yeah, I've been a really poor example, and I've been really ungrateful to you. And also, I was an NPC because I did not have the Holy Spirit in me, and I was just like operating like in this.
I was an NPC because I didn't have the Holy Spirit in me. Now, I already made a big point on how crazy of a statement that I thought that was whenever I first watched this, but just I want you to re-clarify in your mind how crazy I think of a statement. I was an NPC because I didn't have the Holy Spirit in me. We're not going to comment on it. We're just going to move on again because we've already commented on that. But what a crazy statement.
This world, like literally a robot, like work, pay attention to me, make money, like really needed Jesus. Like I look back at so many situations and I just feel embarrassed and I feel shame, but then I remember there is no condemnation or shame in Christ, and I've been wiped clean. There's a question on whether or not we have beef. We absolutely do not on my end anyways. I love literally everyone. I love you all, even when it hurts, even when it's hard. I love everyone.
Even when it hurts.
Because my God,
She's too good to us.
loved me and forgave me when I did not deserve it and before I even asked.
I understand why she's doing it. Gabby's views are far lower than mine, because she likes to make those comparisons, doesn't she? But I'm in a rut at the minute. I'm in a major little trough. I spoke about in my last video, peaks and troughs in success. They're normal, they're fine. But even in my troughs, she's doing worse than me. So I get why she's upset and desperate for views and attention again. I get that. And so I get that she's made this video because she thinks it's going to garner attention.
Clock.
And it probably will. It absolutely probably will. But it's not a real apology. And we can't pretend she's grown or changed or done any better when she's not showing any growth or change or improvement. She makes a bunch of vague statements about, like, I'm so sorry to anyone I've ever worked with or anyone I've interacted with online. What? For what? What are you sorry for? Who are you sorry to? What are these things you've done that you're apologizing for? Because apologies need to be specific. You know, you acknowledge what you've done, you apologized for it, you acknowledge what you've done, you apologize for it, and you say how you're going to make amends, right? Gabby does none of that. And I'm not the only person who she's not apologizing to. Like, in the case of me personally, Gabby is still going online, calling me horrible, horrible names, sending people to harass me constantly, and then saying, I'm sorry to.
Important to note, this born-again Christian era, her apology to everyone is coming hot in the heels of talking shit at Oxford Student Union.
Everyone for vague reasons. Okay, everyone be nice to me now. You can't do that and expect people to forgive you while you're still actively causing harm. Not just to me, but to women in general with your whole modesty nonsense and your purity culture nonsense. Yeah? And while it's nice to see that people like, what's his name, Joey Graceffa, have been like, great, thanks, accept your apology, Gabby. Because he did get a slight more specific one. She did say, you know, people I've worked with on production sets. She said that. That was the only, like, specific person who really got an apology. No Jessie Smiles, no apology for all that stuff she did to her. No apology for the people she called out for, there was some guy she called out saying, like, oh, he called me ugly, and then people found the clip, and it's like, none of that happened. So she'd just gone on this long rant about some random guy about a thing that never happened. No apology for that. I don't get an apology. She still never specifically apologized for the really, really harmful things she was saying while she was going through her last manic episode. Like, for example, all the really disgusting transphobia that she was just spouting at the camera. There's been no apology.
This video is amazing.
Personally, but I'm still very upset by it, and I think people deserve an apology for it, because you can't just be transphobic, and, like, very specifically transphobic, and then just be like, but a vague sorry to everyone, and think it's okay, because it's not. Even in that apology, there's some really harmful, like, stances that she makes, where she talks about how, like, she was an NPC before she found God, as though, like, all atheists aren't...
Before she find the Holy Spirit, you better get it right.
And also, even in that, she was pushing, like, her weird modesty stances and, like, weird purity culture stuff, and this idea that, like, one of the worst things she did ever was, like, be immodest, and it's like, no, come on. You can regret personal things about the way you looked or dressed or things you did, but this idea that, like, being immodest and bad is general, like, I just think, like, the word modesty, like, oh, like, it's just, again, shaming women for having bodies and existing, and, like, it's misogynistic.
That's what it is. It's further this shaming women for existing, and it's really unfortunate that this is the path that she's choosing to go down, considering that everyone is praising her for making such a difference in her life.
It's deeply rooted in misogyny, and this is the narrative she's pushing, and she's harming people. This isn't Gabby apologizing to anyone. This is Gabby trying to save face without actually doing any work or introspection, and I'm sick of it. And she's definitely curating comments and hiding comments and things like that, because, you know, anytime someone calls her out, the comment disappears. It absolutely, I've seen it before my eyes refreshing the page, and I don't want people to fall for her nonsense. She hasn't learned, she hasn't grown, she isn't showing improvement or maturity. It's just another cash grab, a lazy, uninspired cash grab, like everything Gabby does, and I'm absolutely sick of it. I'm sick of sitting back and, like, not being able to say these specific things about Gabby, but this one time I am calling her out, I am seeing this. You are a mean person, and you need to do some internal work and figure out your stuff and start being nicer to people. Give some genuine apologies, do some real reflection. I'm very sorry that the parody book hurt your feelings, but I'm not sorry for reviewing your books in an objective and completely fair way. I'm not sorry for my reviews, but I am sorry that they hurt your feelings. You're a grown adult. It's not okay for you to go around.
God, I can't believe this all stems from sending the book and asking Rachel to do a review, and she does it!
And just start name-calling people who you feel intimidated by or who you feel insecure around. It's not okay. It's mean, it's cruel, and it's unnecessary. And I'm sick of staying silent, because I think what happens to a lot of women, especially on YouTube, is the minute we speak up about something that has hurt our feelings, we're called over-emotional, we're called crazy, we're called bitchy, we're called all these names for speaking up about it. We're called drama hungry and manipulative and if we dare to say, hey, can you not say that about me, please? And I'm kind of tired of it. I have stayed quiet for so long, but now it's not just the name calling, but there's all these like weird narratives being spun online. Like again, the things are coming up about how I apparently personally attacked Gabby in the first place and I started all this, when that is literally not what happened. I have gone back and watched the videos, and even though people are trying to rewrite my memories, the videos are there. That is not what happened. It's wild because I don't actually see Gabby.
Again, furthering that previous point, I just don't understand why people lie when there is evidence that goes against them online. What, like, are you that dumb?
Or I want a better word, because we do such vastly different things. We make such different content. We have such different audiences. You know, she does her music, she does her Christian stuff. She's got that audience. I do my book.
She does her Christian stuff.
There's not really much overlap, so I don't get why this has to be like a rivalry between us. This isn't a me versus her thing. This is just a she really doesn't like me and won't let it drop thing. I'm not going to pretend I'm entirely innocent in this because, like I say, the parody hurt her feelings. And as I've spoken about in my own videos, intention versus outcome, right? Even though my intention was to have a lighthearted joke and raise a bit of money for charity and have some fun with my dog, the outcome clearly hurt her. And therefore for that, I am sorry. And therefore for that, I have tried to make changes to that content so it won't hurt her anymore. I've changed the title. I've issued an apology. I've written a disclaimer. I've done this whole like explanation of why it's not mocking child abuse. And like I have taken those actions to make up for where I was lacking and where I went wrong before. So like I say, I'm not innocent in this. I've made those mistakes and I've done the work to try and improve them. But I do not deserve to be called an ugly bitch and a narcissistic abuser, which she called me as I made it public. I was healing from narcissistic abuse. You know, that's that is one of the things that I think hurt most, is that she was using my experiences against me at the time. I'd just been publicly speaking out about everything that happened with Johnny and how I was working with my therapist and she called it narcissistic abuse, and I was speaking out about books and resources about narcissistic abuse that helped me in that time. And Gabby specifically chose to use those words about me as though she was using my trauma against me, and that, it hurt a lot. I'm sorry, my tummy's still rumbling. I've not eaten today. The other things, you know, like her calling me ugly, I can deal with. Her calling me stupid and not talented and have no accomplishments, like I can deal with because it's horrible and it's cruel, but I know objectively it's not true. I also know I'm not a narcissistic abuser, but the fact that she would take something that happened to me and use it as a weapon against me, that's something you don't heal from easily. And that's something that still hurts to this day. And that's why a vague, oh, I'm so sorry to people, just doesn't cut it for me. It absolutely doesn't.
And also, I think really honing in on hearing from Rachel here is important because Gabby did this, I apologize to everyone, but ultimately we're hearing from someone who should have been apologized to. So we cannot accept something that was never for us. It's meant to be for them. So. But
anyway, that's where we're up to, I guess. I'm just a bit fed up. And I don't know, I have another video to film today. I'm reviewing Sam and Nia's book, which is interesting. I don't know. In happier news, I'm showing some paintings at a little farm show this weekend, so that's going to be really fun. I'm also still working on my second book, which is this big chunky boy. I know I've only shown it in little previews so far, but this is one of the first proofs. Oh, it's actually changed quite a bit from this. It's a big chunky boy filled with art and poetry and essays and photos and all sorts of stuff. And it's not actually called Create, that's just a filler word. I can tell you, it's going to be called Outside. So, yeah, I've been working on this book. I'm really proud of it. It's really coming together well. It should be out maybe November time. I'm not sure. We'll see. Still got a long way to go with it. It's just not quite good enough yet. And
okay, well, we'll be looking forward to that. This is crazy. Again, I never really truly knew the lore when it came to this, and hearing this, I've seen different perspectives. Rachel's is the only one that makes sense. And it's really unfortunate that she had to go through this. It's unfortunate she still has to go through this. And ultimately, it's really unfortunate that Gabby continues to subject her to this as a whole. And is just taking down women now, I guess. It's unproductive, it's uninspiring, and it's just downright hypocritical and wrong. And tacky. And it's like when a creator's career fumbles so bad, they're so not in their career peak anymore. They do a couple things. They either go really Christian, they go really, really political, or I don't know, they do something else. But it's lame. It's really lame. This was an incredible video from Rachel. I mean, this was 2 hours and 40 minutes we just watched. It was an incredible video. Please go and support. And I can't wait for the new book. And I definitely want to go and check Rachel's other book. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Rachel.